Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is a Wednesday, December 11th, 8:21 a.m. We are live 25 minutes early because today we are getting CPI, and that is the Consumer Price Index inflation reading. That is a very, very, very important report today. We're going to be talking about the implications of that report, what that means, and in 9 minutes, we will get the trajectory for not only the rest of the month, but probably for the next couple months based on this inflation reading, if it's too hot, if it's a little bit cold, if it's in line with expectations. So CPI is going to be very important. Now, I see the comments. A lot of you guys thought I was going to oversleep. In fact, I see a bunch of people literally betting on me not waking up today. We got Cole right here saying, what's the over-under on Amit being on time this morning? And you got some people backing up the under on me not being up. Well, I'm here. I'm beneficial. Did defend me. Thank you. I had one friend who defended. You know what's ironic about this? I slept late last night. I think I slept till like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And it was for no reason other than I couldn't sleep. I was just like, as soon as I started to fall asleep, I was like, well, I hope I wake up because you can't be sleeping this late. But nonetheless, we're here. I woke up at like 6:30 today. I was excited. So CPI, this is going to be very, very important. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into, and we got a lot to go through in the context of what we're going to see for this inflation reading. Ken, B. Worthy, William, Sachin, what's up? What's up? Thank you for being here. Cole, Adam, what's up, my brother? Thank you for being here. Antonio, Danny's, Ramu, hello. Cole, what's up? Silly Bunch, Troy. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. Peter, Lena, Thao, Polly, Harry, Amato Music. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Jeremiah, what's up? All right, let's get started. So what are the inflation expectations? Well, it's pretty simple. 2.7%. That's what the banks are expecting, 2.7%. Now, are we going to get 2.7%? By the way, we have a lot of headlines to run through. A lot of stuff happened since the market closed last night. A lot of stuff happened, but I'm not going to talk about any of that until CPI is done. So we've got a ton of stuff to run through from yesterday leading up into this morning. But for the next 7 minutes and the next 10 minutes after that, we will focus on CPI, and hopefully the markets will like the CPI reading that we have. This is the headline forecast. 2.7 is the median forecast, 3.3 in the core. Last time we had a decreasing CPI was in September. It came in at 2.4%. And when we got that reading, I was actually on a bus on the way to a wedding in India. And I was incredibly happy when I saw 2.4 because I was like, holy crap, bro. By the time we get to December, if we're at 2.4 in September, we're going to be in a good spot. And we're in a good spot, but unfortunately, we have not been able to go lower than 2.4 because of a variety of reasons that we'll talk about in a second. But 2.7, that's what the banks are expecting. You got UBS and Deutsche Bank expecting 2.8. Previous month was 2.6, so 2.7 would be a little bit higher than expected. But again, that's what's expected, which is a good thing because if we come in at 2.7, it's not going to be a massive surprise to the market because they're already expecting a little bit higher than 2.6. Now, the Fed probabilities for a rate cut in December currently are 86% for a cut, 14% to not have a cut. This was 65% 2 weeks ago. So we have increased the rate cut probabilities dramatically after the unemployment rate ticked up from 4.1 to 4.2%. Again, the Fed has a pretty strong incentive to not allow a labor market to collapse, which would ultimately lead to a recession if people don't have jobs. And so this CPI report is going to be really interesting because the scenarios are A, inflation is too hot, and the Fed says they care more about inflation than the labor market. We don't get a cut. B, inflation is cold, aka we come in below 2.6, which means we definitely get a cut. We probably get more cuts in 2025, and the labor market is stabilized. Or C, we come in line with expectations, which means we're going to get the cut in December, but the market's expecting 4 to 5 cuts next year. Maybe we only get 2 to 3 cuts because the Fed says, all right, we're not really tackling inflation. We're just keeping it at bay. And so we might not be able to cut rates that quickly. So I think those are the 3 scenarios. And the question just becomes, what is going to be one of those scenarios? Put in the chat what number you think it's going to be. You can put in whatever number you want, but 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, I think those are kind of the 3 ones people are looking at. If you want to be a little aggressive, say 2.9, put it in the chat. Let's see what people are saying. And if you want to be a little optimistic and say 2.5, you can put that in the chat as well. But the banks are expecting 2.7. Now, yesterday we got some red. I bought the dip on Robinhood. I bought 110 shares. Robinhood was down about 5.5%. You had a bunch of names that were down. I think Palantir was down 2%. Indices were down 0.5%. Pre-markets are green. Look at Tesla, up 1.77%. I think Hood is up 2% in the pre-markets. Hood is up 2.25%. Palantir also was at almost 75. 72.18. That's up another 2% in the pre-markets. We ended yesterday at 70.89. So part of the theory I have right now is that, wait a second, maybe the CPI was leaked, as it's always leaked. SMCI, of course, is down 5% for whatever reason. SMCI was down 8% yesterday, by the way. So SMCI is down now 13% in the past 2 days. CPI was leaked. Market tanked, quote unquote tanked. And now the dip is being eaten up because it was priced in, right? Like as soon as the market fell, people were like, okay, market's down. Now we're just going to start buying, right? And so that initial reaction kind of already happened. We've seen this happen many other times with CPI where the market goes up the day before, then it falls on the CPI news because it was already priced into the upside. So like, I kind of think it's going to be a muted reaction, but I could be wrong and we could get a really cold reading, which would be great, or a really hot reading. Even Bitcoin is acting like CPI is going to be fine. Bitcoin was at 94,600 yesterday. Now it's at 98,368. So maybe CPI isn't as bad as some people are expecting, but we're going to see. Okay, the numbers in the chat, I'm seeing 2.7s and 2.8s from most of you. 2.7 and 2.8s from most of you. That's what I am seeing. And I think that's fair. It's probably going to be some level, something in between that. And we're going to kind of see what it looks like. Hershey's is down 5%. Hims is down 5%. So Hims is always down 5% or up 5%. So I don't know why Hims is down. We'll check on that in a second. Hershey's, we don't know if that acquisition is going to go through. This would be, by the way, the reason they got the acquisition, it would be, I think, a $45 billion acquisition. It would be the largest acquisition we've had in a couple of years. And I think the reason we got it is because under the Trump administration, you know, the market might be thinking, hey, it's more friendlier to do it, and like the regulators will let it get done. But if that doesn't happen, and if you only bought Hershey's for the acquisition, you know, you're kind of betting that that happens. And if it doesn't, you know, then Hershey's might go back to where it was, given cocoa prices are up. Now, in terms of what was up last month in October, used cars and trucks, airlines, medical care, recreation, and shelter. From the reports I'm reading this morning, a lot of people are thinking shelter's actually going to come in a little bit lower than expected. Rents are going to come in a little bit lower than expected. And if that's the case, maybe, given oil prices are up slightly today because OPEC was cutting their demand forecast, but oil is still well below, not well below 70, but it's been at 69.40. It's been staying below 70, right? Even if it ticked up to 71, 72 for the past month, it has been in that 67-ish to 72-ish range. And so we know energy either should be down or flat. If shelter comes in a little bit lower than expected, that's great. Used cars, I don't think are going to come down. I don't think auto insurance is going to come down. I don't think airline fares are going to come down. But we need some other metric to show a little bit of a decline to get us at least to stay at 2.7, if not to get to 2.6. If we get an uptick to 2.8, it's probably because one of those metrics likely increased, but maybe the market might not care because it's only 2.8 versus 2.7. So in 1 minute, we are going to find out. Oh boy, Fool's Gold. Thank you for the $500 super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Someone sent a $420.69 super chat yesterday on the market close. You guys do not have to do that, but that really means a lot. That's a lot of freaking money, man. That is not a small amount of money. Thank you, Fool's Gold, for that. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for being part of the channel. Rocket Lab for life. Matt made money. Matt Money made it so. I gotta get Matt Money a beer because it feels like he got you into Rocket Lab, and that's how you're justifying sending $500. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. That's better than any coffee to get to wake you up in the morning. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. All right, so CPI, it's coming out in literally 30 seconds. So this is the website. As soon as we get the update, I will refresh. We will see the number. All right, here we go. Here's the refresh. It'll be coming soon. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, now I have anxiety. Oh my gosh. Please be 2.7 or below. Please be 2.7 or below. Oh my gosh. Please be 2.7 or below. Please be 2.7 or below. It's not out yet. Number's not out yet. Still refreshing. Should be out soon. Is the market tanking? 2.7. It's out. 2.7. Okay, well, it's not out on the BLS website. I'll go to Trading Economics if it's not out on this yet. Yeah, it's 2.7. I think it's 2.7. You guys are right. We still don't have it on the BLS website. Of course not. Why would it be updated on the website? Let's go to Trading Economics. We are at 2.7. 2.7. There you go. 2.7. Where's the market? Where is the market? Okay, it's still not updated on the website. That's wild, bro. But let's go to the market real quick. Let's see what's happening. Palantir's up. Robinhood's up. SoFi's up. Tesla's up. By the way, Tesla had its first $400 close in a couple years. That's incredible. 3.3 on the core, 2.7. All right. 3.3 on the core, 2.7 on the headline. That's exactly what the market thought would happen. That is what happened. SMCI is recovering a little bit from that. You got the green candle. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up a little bit right there. Got a green candle. S&P 500 is up 0.27%. By the way, we got Tom Lee's expectation. We're going to talk about that today because that's a big one. And we got the Qs. The Qs are up 0.38%. Oh, thank goodness, bro. Thank freaking goodness, dude. If we got a 2.8, that would not be fun. All right, here it is. It's out. Let's see what we got. 2.7% over the last 12 months. Index for Shelter rose. Shelter was up, folks. Shelter is still up. Shelter accounted for nearly 40% of the monthly all items increase. The food index also increased over the month, rising 0.4%, as the food at home index increased 0.5%. Energy index rose. Wow. The fact that, that's probably why it came in higher than expected, because energy was not lower. It was unchanged in October, but still, I guess other parts of energy went up, even if it wasn't just oil. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in November. Indexes that increased in November. Here we go. Shelter, used cars, household furnishing, medical care, new vehicles, and recreation. The new vehicles and used cars, that one made a lot of sense. You guys know I got $15K for a Honda Civic that I bought 5 years ago. That's crazy. So used car market is up there. New car market is up there. Medical care, that's the same from October. Shelter is up, and recreation, that's the same as well. So nothing too crazy from there. The index for communication was among the few major indices that decreased over the month. I'm actually curious what is included when they say the index for communication. Are they talking about telecommunications, IT infrastructure? So I want to look into that and see what exactly does that mean. The all items index rose 2.7% for the 12 months ending November, rising 2.6% over the past 12 months in October. Okay, that's not too bad. That is not too bad. Let's go to CNBC real quick, get an update, and then we'll go even deeper into these numbers and see what we got. 2.7 is not bad at all. Here we go.
Be cold? Could it be lukewarm if it was less than warm? Do you have gradations for everything? Think about that. Give me a good answer on that. In the meantime, I'm going to bring in our panel. Well, no, it's not really a panel. It's kind of a mini panel. Oksana Aronov, head of market strategy for alternative fixed income at JP Morgan Asset Management. Alicia Levine, head of investment strategy and equities at BNY Wealth, and our own Steve Leisman. Did you notice? Do you think
He's
about
really good. Come on.
But it was warm. It wasn't hot.
There's a reason he gives the numbers and not me.
No.
Because he's that good at it.
There's a lot of reasons.
A lot of reasons.
Yeah. So what do you make? Exactly.
I want to talk about maybe a headline busted number here, which is kind of interesting.
Tesla's at 410, folks. Tesla's at 410.
The owner's equivalent rent. Maybe we've been waiting for this to come down. 0.2%. And I didn't have a chance. Basically, it's back in line with where it was before the pandemic.
Okay, we'll go back to that because hold on, stocks are moving. Whoa, this is I think CPI was leaked, and by the morning, people realized that it's not as bad, or at least they didn't think it's that bad. Look at Tesla, 410. Look at Robinhood, it's up 4% in the pre-markets, 38.90. Where's Palantir? Palantir's up 3.2%. Bears wanted below 70, not today, or at least not right now. It's been holding 70 for the past couple of days. SoFi up 1.64%. GM, which we have a lot of news on GM. We'll talk about that in a bit. That's up 1.6%. SMCI can't get a break, but that's down 5%. MicroStrategy, which had a nasty day yesterday, up 2% today. Bitcoin, 98,850. Bitcoin's trying to get back to 99,000. It was at 90,000, 98,500. So it's up 300 points in the past couple minutes. Apple, of course, 248. Apple really getting a part of that holiday melt up. Apple's up. Google's down, but that's okay because Google was up a lot yesterday, so it makes sense. People taking the profits on Google. China's down. Market doesn't care about China. Oh my goodness, Grab's up 1.29%. This mother effer is going to run away. It is going to run away. It might just run away, folks. Grab right here up 1.29% of the pre-markets. Google right here down a little bit. Nvidia's up 1.5%. Archer's up a little bit. Amazon's up 0.33%. Oracle is flat. Ethereum 3,700, that's up 2%. Rocket Lab's up 1%. Reddit's up 4%. Enphase is up 0.5%. Marathon's up 3%. You've got the market moving. Meta as well, up 0.74%. Maybe this is a head fake, and at 9:30 this gets sold off, but this looks like they tanked on the CPI leak yesterday, and the dip got bought, and the dip is getting bought right now. Tesla right there, now back to 410. It is $4 away from all-time highs on Tesla. $4 away from all-time highs on Tesla. Dark Lorder 88. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a channel member. There you go, folks. Not bad. We'll go back to CNBC, get some coverage, but it looks like the market is okay with this momentum currently right now on CPI.
Energy with gasoline up 0.6. So we got that big decline. You're seeing prices below 3, a little bit above 3 around the country. So that's where we're at right now. A little bit of push me pull you, but that rent number, I think, is something the Fed
We
will
don't need
watch.
anything accelerating. And that's what I'm going to ask Oksana and Alicia, because the big question, I think, at least on my mind, maybe other people, is inflation, I'll ask you, Alicia, is it under control? And can we cut? Can we feel just no problemo? New highs in the market, Bitcoin new highs, all this, GDP surging, unemployment very low. We're cutting.
What could go wrong?
Right. Is inflation under control enough to be cutting?
So we can still cut here, given where inflation is and given where real rates are. But it's unmistakable that the last 4 months, with core up 0.3% month over month, is a trend. And so that's an uncomfortable trend. And I think it really speaks to what the Fed's going to do.
Why would you cut if you're uncomfortable?
Because we are still, the real rates are still high.
So we're restrictive. You believe that?
I believe we're restrictive. I think the question is going forward. I think there was 100 basis points built in here where the Fed had room to cut from where the Fed funds rate was. I think going forward, we have to ask the question, if we have a booming economy and we have inflation, which is a little bit warmer, I'm going to use the word warm. How much room do we have for 2025? Right. And that's. What
do you guys think? Should we cut or not cut? Put in the chat. Cut or no cut? Put in the chat. What do you think? Cut or no cut? Do you think this inflation reading 2.7%, 3.3 in the core, which are higher on the monthly and yearly, but in line with expectations, does that justify a cut or no cut?
The question the Fed is faced with.
Do you agree, Oksana?
So we continue to believe that this level of interest rates, when we got to the 5.5 on the Fed funds, failed to deliver the kinds of restrictive effects that I think the Fed and a lot of the market had expected. And now the Fed is cutting those already not terribly restrictive rates, right? Where was the restrictive? Where did we see it? Did we see it in housing? Did we see it in business activity? Did we see it in consumer spending? Now we are seeing the stock market making higher highs.
Okay, I think this is incorrect. I think this analysis is not necessarily correct. We definitely saw the effect of higher rates. I mean, we definitely saw the effect of higher rates. And a new Honda Civic today costs $34,000. Like 5 years ago, it was $21,000. Second of all, we definitely saw it in the housing market. Third of all, if she's saying, well, the stock market's up with higher rates, that's because of AI and productivity. That's just because Jay Powell happened to walk into one of the most miraculous, you could argue, moments of human history where you're raising rates, but ChatGPT is changing the world. Right? Like that, I don't think you could blame the Fed on not raising rates enough on that. That's just like we got into a situation where the markets could go higher based on earnings growth. So I don't think that's necessarily the analysis for why we need to cut or why we need to not cut.
All the time, we have still a strong unemployment market or strong unemployment figure. We have very all-time low risk premium credit. We have inflation stabilizing at a higher level than the Fed would like it. And I wonder how many higher than target core PC numbers is it going to take for Powell to reverse course here? Because remember,
reverse course, does that mean not cut, or does that mean?
I think they're facing a very real possibility of having to take some of these cuts back in 2025. I mean, I think they're on course.
Wow, that's the reaction to this. Do you guys feel the same? I see most of you guys saying cut in the chat, but the reaction to these numbers, even though they're in line with expectations, is that we're gonna have to pause, or I mean, I don't think hike, but definitely pause in 2025. Seems like people are not fully loving this. Well, the market is at least disagreeing for now.
To do whatever it is they're going to do this month. But I think as we go into 2025, with the continuation of fiscal dominance that we're continuing to see, creating tailwinds for the economy, but headwinds for their policy by extension, the new administration with more of an inflationary impulse, right? Whether you think about tariffs or taxes or immigration, right? We don't know what they're going to do, but at least that's the expectation. I think we're staring at a very real possibility of the Fed having to take some of these cuts back.
I think I could get you and Rick arguing probably on this. You don't think so, Rick? Do you? I mean, which are you on? Feel more comfortable with what Oksana is saying, Rick? Do you think it's crazy to be cutting here?
Yeah, I definitely do think it's crazy to be cutting, but you know, our job isn't to try to put an adjective on in front of cutting. Our job is to let the viewers know that, you know, it's pretty much baked in the cake that the Fed is going to give a quarter point at the December meeting. But what I think is the most important discussion to have is how the markets have responded to these numbers. Okay, so we get warmer. And what's my definition of warmer? Well, hot would be if we make a new high with regard to where we are in inflation. Cooler, or as expected, of course, would be if we start to see zero or maybe some deflationary pressures in the rate of change. But warmer is because it's warm. It's kind of hotter than it's been expected. But interest rates went down when this number came out. We went down 3 basis points in a 2-year. We went down 2 basis points in a 10-year. We rallied the pre-opening Dow Jones Industrial Average. So the question we should be asking is, why are the markets rallying on warm inflation? And to me, that's the biggest issue of all. The Fed has a bias here, whether they admit it or not. They want to lower rates. The market isn't giving them any justification to do so. And market participants only worry about surprises. But in the end, the stickiness of long duration Treasury yields, which no Fed official, including Jay Powell, ever seems to want to answer, why are long rates so stubborn? We can see why they're stubborn. Just because they're as expected, the stickiness of inflation and the possibility of not only sticky, but going up down the road is what's keeping long rates higher after all the dust settles on these numbers. Look for more curve steepening when the market is so unresponsive to inflation that certainly is nowhere near the Fed's 2% target.
We've got a crossfire segment brewing here.
You know, I'm somewhat in Rick's and Oksana's camp in the following way. If you have a situation where there's a dramatic change in fiscal policy and the Fed has to reverse course, then the Fed has to reverse course. I think there's a...
You're blaming this on Trump's policy. So you can say you're right that we're restrictive, but he could do something where you'd have to change your mind, but it wouldn't be your fault.
I'm more interested, Joe, in this idea that you want...
Yeah.
Of course, what you want, you're going to back. You're just going to dance.
Always.
You're going to dance.
Always.
You want the Fed to act prospectively on potential policy. I don't know that I want the Fed to do that. I would rather see what is passed by the new Congress.
You don't want them to do that. So you can blame being wrong on something.
I don't blame anybody here. I do want to point out, however, the data, which is pointing out the interesting thing that Rick is talking about. You've had an increase in the probability of that August cut. An increase in the probability of a cut down the road. I didn't look at the December 25 Fed futures contract here. I looked at
December's at 87%, so it's up about 2%. It was at 85% in the morning. Right now, it's at 87%.
Real quickly, but what's interesting here is Rick's talking about this notion of somewhere in there is this dance. Speaking of dances, of the market gaming out what the Fed is going to do versus what the market thinks the Fed ought to do. And I don't know where to look to the market for the ought to do. I can look at them gaming out what the Fed is going to do. And so what the takeaway from this number is that this quarter point cut and perhaps another quarter down the road, another 50 next year is still on.
Alicia.
All right. So, oh boy, this is quite the story in terms of how it's being interpreted. So for those that are just joining, thank you for being here. Good morning. CPI coming in hotter than last month, but in line with expectations, 2.7% on the yearly, 3.3% on the core. Market is kind of okay with it. You got Bitcoin going up, Tesla hitting new 52-week highs. I mean, market's fine with it, but the analyst commentary is that inflation being higher is proving how sticky it is, and although we're going to get the cut, and I agree, given the Fed future probabilities went up right now, the cut is baked in. I think all of us can agree the cut is baked in. I mean, inflation would have to be dramatically higher. Like we're talking about 2.9 to 3% for the Fed to say we're not going to cut. And even then, that labor market is getting, the Fed a little scared. And so they definitely want to make sure we get some cuts in. But we didn't get a dramatic inflation reading to the point where the Fed wouldn't cut. However, the inflation reading we did get is getting some people to think that it doesn't make sense to really cut logically if inflation's higher. And that if we're going to get one cut in December, we shouldn't expect many cuts in 2025. That is some of the analysis we're seeing. across the board. I think there's look, I think there's an argument for the people in the camp that say we shouldn't cut or we shouldn't cut aggressively in 2025. However, I think there's some other arguments that we need to consider. Number one is the housing market. We have to cut to make the housing market more affordable, and we're getting to that. So this morning we got some new macro data. The mortgage index rose 5.4% last week. We get these every single week. As the 30-year mortgage rate slightly dropped to 6.7% from 6.9. I know that's not a crazy drop, but that is indeed a drop, 6.69 to 6.67. The Fed wants to get mortgage rates at least to 5.5%. And the only way you do that is we get the neutral rate back down to like at 3.5% roundabout. And how do you do that? Well, you got to cut rates. So this sort of conundrum that we're in, that houses are expensive because no one wants to sell their house, because no one wants to buy a house because rates are too high, and no one wants to start building a house, aka the home builders, because there's no demand for people buying the house because rates are too high. The only way to stop that is if rates come down. So the housing and shelter has been sticky for like the past 2 years at this point on all these CPI reports. So from a housing perspective, I think the Fed knows they have to lower rates. From a 10-year perspective, although it's being super stubborn, the Fed knows that maybe rate cuts are the way to get it down. Right now, the 10-year is basically saying, is the 10-year up? The 10-year is basically saying, we don't believe you, and we think inflation is going higher. Yeah, the 10-year is flat. It's not down, but it should be down with this. Well, it shouldn't be down theoretically, but the Fed wants it to be down. And so I think you got a lot of variables going back and forth of the Fed trying to figure out what the heck is happening with inflation and what does it mean for the rate cuts. Oh, and Jed brings up a good point right here. National debt. Guys, we're paying $1 trillion a year on debt. We spend $1 trillion on the defense budget. We're spending $1 trillion on the national debt, on the interest payments. Like, at some level, we got to get that to come down, right? Doug says if the economy is strong, you can at least wait another month or two to cut. If the economy is weak, you have to cut, and the resulting inflation will start damaging the economy. Well, here's the thing. In 2025, if inflation makes a resurgence, if the first half of 2025 is not characterized by AI and FSD and robotics and Palantir's enterprise AI applications, if it's characterized by frickin' inflation, which was the characterization of the first half of 2024, then we're going to experience again a market that is obsessed with every syllable Jay Powell utters, because at the end of the day, if inflation is what's going to hold up the market, that's not going to be good. And you're going to have a market that's going to be very, very dependent on rate cuts and data that gets inflation down. And they're going to be looking for the Fed potentially to start pausing, because they know that if inflation needs to come down in order for the Fed to start cutting, then the priority will be how do we get inflation to start coming down. So we're going into a 2025 with this inflation data that has a lot of mixed variables. I definitely think we're getting the cut in December. I don't know what the dot plot is going to look like going into 2025. I'm hoping that the Fed can come to some type of a conclusion on where inflation is and then make a decision on how they think they will handle it. And then that's not even to mention the tariffs. I mean, is that going to be more inflationary? Is Trump even going to implement the tariffs? Like, how is that going to interact? Like, I think a lot of this stuff is going to be intertwined in a different way. Now, I still do think we deserve those 50 bips back in September, because like the labor market, also, I forgot to mention the labor market, right? The unemployment rate went from 4.1 to 4.2. So what Joe and Rick were talking about there didn't really bring up the fact that if people could potentially lose their jobs, and that's what the Fed cares about more than anything, because that like is the health of the American public, then that is something that is a mandate that they're going to have to think about when they think about rate cuts. Let's watch a little bit more of this, and then we'll get into all the headlines we had from yesterday, and we'll move on from there.
2.7, it's not a real place where they can cut. I don't think they have a hiking bias, but I think that they keep the cutting bias and just wait, and there's a pause.
And the reality is that we're growing at about 3% this quarter, right? Atlanta, the Fed's own measure is 3.3% for Q4. It was under 3% for Q3. And I actually want to take the administration out of it, because even before this election, we knew that whoever ends up in the White House in January, the fiscal backdrop will continue unabated, and that will continue to put pressure on the long end of the curve. And that's really the thing that matters the most, because the Fed doesn't have any control over that. So all of these things we're talking about that are potentially tailwinds for the economy, they're great for risk assets, which is where Alicia is. But I'm not so sure that they're great for risk premium credit or for credit or bond investors. Now, our job, similarly, is, particularly on my team, which is absolute return oriented, is to generate returns irrespective of which way the policy goes or what happens with Fed policy, et cetera. So we are very much for evolving portfolio construction and evolving approaches to investing in fixed income, which has had very little evolution, to address the reality that bond stock correlation is meaningfully positive, that there is no diversification benefit across the traditional fixed income sectors. They're all about 0.9 correlated. This was about 0.5 just 4 or 5 years ago. So there are real kind of shifts within the market that necessitate new ways of thinking, exactly as you said, because our job, and no one has a crystal ball here, but our job is to generate returns. And absolutely true, policy is unknown. The Fed itself, if you look at their dot plots, is terrible at predicting where their own Fed funds rate will be.
Right.
The markets are terrible.
And gaming out fiscal policy effects as well. Rick, just a quick question. Sorry.
You got a team?
We have a team.
Is it your team?
It's my team.
Damn. And you got a team. You got a team? You kind of got a team.
I'm a fair
I don't have a team. I got a wife and kids. You got a team?
Team for
What is he talking about? Sometimes Joe, what team? What is like? I love Joe, but sometimes it's just so weird, bro. Sometimes how he ends out or segues these segments. Okay, anyway, so that's the perspective on CPI. Does anyone know what he's talking about? Do you have a team? Like, what is he talking about, bro? You have a team? Like, what are you saying? Like, what team? What are you talking about? Anyway, okay, here we go. So that's the coverage on inflation. Real quick, one more thing I want to look at, and then we'll get into Palantir. We got a bunch of news this morning on Palantir because the news obviously never stops when it comes to Palantir. So food was up as well, 0.4%. Cereal and bakery products fell. So cereal is down, bakery products are down, food at home index rose 1.6%. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs rose 3.8%. I know a lot of people are feeling the price of eggs go up higher at the grocery stores as well. Eggs have been increasing for the past year. Energy increased. The reason energy increased was because gasoline. Gasoline was up 0.6% over the month. Natural gas was up 1% over the month. And the index for electricity fell 0.4% in November. So you had you had electricity come down, but natural gas and oil went up just a little bit. And then outside of food and energy, medical care was up 0.3%. Used cars were up 2% in November. Dude, the used car market is legitimate insanity. Like, I mean, new cars are just too expensive. So people are going to used cars, and used cars, that pushes too much demand to used cars, and that makes them expensive. So that continuously becomes expensive. Medical care was up 0.3%. Physician services increased 0.3%. Prescription drugs fell 0.4%. Hospital services were unchanged. Recreation, personal care, education, and apparel were up in November as well. Communication fell 1%. And that's kind of the numbers that we are looking at right now. So shelter was up. That made up 40% of the CPI increase. Energy was up slightly as well. And then you had your regular indices like apparel, medical care, used cars, airline fares, etc., auto insurance that went down, or that went up. But we came in at 2.7%. We came in at 2.7%, which is not the worst thing in the world. And that's ultimately what we're looking at right here. All right. So before we get into the headlines, let's just take a look at the market. Riggedy Computing. This thing is up another 20% today after being up 45% yesterday. This is benefiting from quantum computing kind of hype. I could argue the hype is real. I could also argue the market might not care about the hype in a week. So if you're in this name, congratulations, but it is riding the hype. And so if you're riding it, you're kind of riding the volatility on this. Maybe there's something legit here. Haven't done the due diligence, but this one's up primarily because of Google's Willow, and it's going up even more based on this CPI data. Tesla is up 2.18%. Palantir's up 2.76%. Robinhood up 3.37%. It's a good pre-market on these numbers. I don't know if it's going to be a pre-market that definitely extends into the trading session, and that's going to be important. We've had 2 red days in a row. Do we get our 3rd red day? Even though the 2 red days have been relatively mild across the indices, individual stocks have taken a bit more of a hit. Do we get the 3rd red day in a row, or do market participants step in and say, you know what? We're buying $7 trillion on the sidelines. We don't care. Inflation's, yeah, it's higher, but we're still going to get another cut. And so we're going to step in. We're going to see in just 30 minutes what that looks like. Apple right here is up 247. Google is now flat. It was down in the morning. Grab is up 2%. Grab is grabbing more greens right here. Snapchat up 1%, AMD up 1%. AMD, Lisa Su was named the Time CEO of the Year yesterday. AMD was down 2.39%. AMD right here up 1%. And then you got NVIDIA. Amazon as well is up about 0.5%. That's good. And then NVIDIA right here that was down yesterday, 2.69%. All the semis took a hit yesterday. NVIDIA right here up 1.76%. Let's check on the Bitcoin proxies real quick. Bitcoin proxies are up, all of them. Hut 8 Mining, Iran, Cypher, MicroStrategy, Bitfarm, all of them are up. CleanSpark's up 2%. Coinbase is up 3%. And then let's check on the semis. Semis are all green as well outside of ARM and SMCI. Broadcom, by the way, reports earnings today after the bell. So that's going to be a big one. They are the 12th largest company in the world. So that'll be important. NVIDIA right here up 1.8% currently right now in the pre-markets. Eyal, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a channel member. And Elaton, I'm sorry I'm saying if your name wrong as well, or Elentin. You guys know me. I can't say words, but thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everybody being here this morning. And thank you for whoever joins and becomes a channel member. Okay, so that was CPI. For those that are just joining, 2.7% versus 3.3 in the core market. It was in line with expectations. Market's okay with it. And at least it wasn't much higher than what the market thought would happen. Let's get into some other headlines. So since yesterday, since the market closed, we've had a ton of stuff that has happened. And a lot of this stuff actually does have a ton of market implications for a variety of different names that we are looking at. I think let's start off with Tesla. First of all, Microsoft voted against the Bitcoin investment. I think we said that on the market close, but Microsoft voted against the Bitcoin investment. Now Amazon's voting. I think Bezos wants to put Bitcoin in the balance sheet. I don't think they're going to do it because they have too many institutional shareholders like Vanguard and all this stuff. But I think they would want to do it. To be honest, if you're a Mag 7, if you got BlackRock like that owns a majority of your shares, and they have a voting like right on the Bitcoin thing, I think they should vote yes because they literally own an ETF for Bitcoin, which we'll talk about. It's seeing record inflows as well. So maybe Amazon says yes, but probably not. Amazon definitely said no. So let's move on to Tesla. PPI is tomorrow as well. Tesla got another price target raise, folks. They got 2 price target raises yesterday to 400 and I think 385. They got another one today from Goldman Sachs, 250 to 345. Here's what Goldman Sachs had to say. While we believe that the company is in a leading position in the domains of platforms and power and in the broader clean mobility space, we expect Tesla will face headwinds in the core auto business over the near to medium term. Tesla's EV market share has been trending lower across US, Europe, and China, which we believe is contributing to pricing headwinds, although share could be more stable for Tesla going forward, with several of the larger auto EMs taking a more selective approach to the EV market given reduced emissions requirements. While we see some fundamental headwinds to the core auto business over the near term, to the medium term, we also have the EV tax credit going away, and see valuation as full, we also believe the stock could remain higher at a multiple to reflect the longer-term opportunity tied to FSD and robotics, another sell-side equity report mentioning robotics. They've always mentioned FSD. They have very barely mentioned robotics. I think they're seeing all these Optimus videos and they're like, all right, we can't deny this anymore. And they're mentioning robotics. Given broader market interest and potential AI beneficiaries, Tesla's stock is trading at the higher end of its historical range. Price target now at 345. Now, not only did that happen in the context of a Goldman Sachs upgrade, but yesterday you also got something else that was pretty damn wild. And I think people expected it, but it officially happened and it was pretty crazy. And then after this, we'll get into Palantir because we had a bunch of updates from Palantir yesterday. GM's done with robotaxis. They're done. GM put out a press release. They are refocusing their autonomous driving development on personal vehicles and shutting down Cruise. GM plans to realign its autonomous driving strategy and prioritize development of advanced driver assistance systems on a path to fully autonomous personal vehicles. GM will build on the progress of Super Cruise, the company's hands-off, eyes-on driving feature. And they're basically saying, yeah, we are giving up on our broader robo-taxi business. Now, here's what the CEO of GM had to say, Mary Barra, and in terms of how to justify this. She said, Cruise was well on its way to become a robo-taxi business. But when you look at the fact that you're deploying a fleet, you're maintaining a fleet, there's a whole operations piece of doing that. The cost of that, it's just not our core business. Now, this was kind of funny. And the reason this was kind of funny, and it was very weird, is because, first of all, no one thought that GM ever should have been in the autonomous vehicle robotaxi business, because obviously the reason Tesla's getting this multiple is because it's really hard to do. Like, do we really think the engineering capability of General Motors has any shot against Tesla in trying to beat them at robotaxis? Like that, it's almost laughable to even think that was a thing. And someone who sold his company to GM, Kyle Vogt, I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but Kyle Vogt, he sold a Cruise to GM for, I think, $1.5 billion in 2016. He wrote yesterday, in case it was unclear before, it is clear now, GM are a bunch of dummies. That's wild, right? I mean, you got a founder of a company that, maybe it wouldn't have beat Tesla, but if it was actually competing, maybe it could have been a close second, a close third, and that would have made many, many more billions than 1.5 billion. Sold his company, probably made life-changing money, probably also wanted to see robotaxis become real, and now GM is basically shutting it down. So from that perspective, what does that mean for Tesla? I mean, it means cha-ching, cha-ching, bullish. Who else is solving this outside of Waymo? And I think, long-term Tesla bulls kind of understand the competitive advantage from a data perspective that Tesla has over Waymo. But Waymo being in this space is not bad. It just means it's normalizing the idea. I mean, every time someone steps in an autonomous robotaxi, and 150,000 of those happen per week with Waymo, that's people getting normalized around the concept of being in a car with no driver. And those people are potentially robotaxi customers one day as Tesla rolls out their fleet. So I think this is incredibly bullish. Tesla right here, 409 right now, up 2.2%, probably on CPI, but also I think a little bit on the fact that if Mari Barra is saying, hey, we're done, we're not trying to compete, there's going to be no other auto manufacturer in the modern age that's going to be able to compete with this either. And there you go. You got Tesla's market to win. And if they can win it, then Tesla shareholders, I believe, are going to do very, very well. Just a question if they can ultimately execute on that. CPI was 2.7. For those that are wondering, CPI was 2.7 and 3.3 in the core, basically what the market expected across the entire angle. So one last piece of news on Tesla, which was also very, very exciting. SpaceX officially is worth $350 billion. So that was the valuation that was being floated around over the past 2 months, or really the past 2 weeks, because it was $250 billion in October. Now it's $350 billion by the end of November. SpaceX and its investors have agreed to purchase as much as $1.25 billion of the company's common shares at $185 a piece in a transaction valuing Elon Musk's rocket and satellite maker at about $350 billion. If you know the history about SpaceX, in 2010, they almost went bankrupt. And now they are the most valuable private company on the planet. Now, to put in perspective what's happening with SpaceX in terms of just like how incredible this is, because of this $350 billion valuation, Elon Musk is worth over $400 billion. Elon Musk is the first person in human history outside of Putin, who probably is a trillionaire, who is worth $442 billion, surpassing the $400 billion market cap, which is insanity. Second implication of this, Rocket Lab is worth a measly $11 billion. SpaceX just got valued at $350 freaking billion. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to think, okay, if Peter Beck can like somewhat execute, maybe Rocket Lab is worth $50 billion one day, even like $25 billion, which is a double from here. So I think that's incredibly bullish for Rocket Lab, just in terms of what that TAM is setting a precedent for. And then you got SpaceX that's more valuable than Salesforce at $333 billion, Chevron at $279 billion, Coca-Cola at $271 billion, and Toyota at $230 billion. Hell, Elon Musk himself is more valuable than Salesforce, Chevron, Coca-Cola, and Toyota. I mean, it just goes to show you the amount of wealth this man has created for the planet. Obviously created for shareholders. SpaceX has been the most liquid secondary private stock on the market. I mean, if you knew anyone who had some connections, you could probably get into SpaceX. You had to know someone who had the connections, but SpaceX has been going back and forth for like the past decade in terms of people buying in and out of it because it's been very liquid. A lot of people wanted demand and a lot of people were willing to sell if they got a good premium on it. So, I mean, Elon Musk, $442 billion, worth more than public companies himself. SpaceX worth more than all the private market companies out there. XAI, you could argue, hasn't even got started, only worth $50 billion. It seems like Elon's going to be a trillionaire, bro. Because if XAI goes to $500 billion and then Tesla gets to $2-3 trillion, I mean, like in the next decade, I don't think it's crazy to think that Elon has a T attached to his net worth. And if that's the case, that's good. That what that means is he's created a lot of wealth for, people who've invested in him, which is ultimately the goal of someone who starts anything and tries to build something into a big enterprise. So that's what we got in the context of the Tesla news right here. And Tesla stock at 409 currently in the pre-market. So let's move on to Palantir. So Palantir is up 2.9%. And we've got some stuff to talk about for Palantir. I don't know if people caught the headline yesterday. You might have caught it if you were following on Twitter, because I wrote about it last night. But for those that didn't catch it, I think your mind is going to be blown by what you find out. And it's not the Palantir press release that came out this morning, which is really good. We finally got some updates on warp speed. Which we'll talk about. But something else happened last night. So, What has been the theme of the past couple months after Trump got elected? The theme has been JD Vance is in the White House. David Sachs was just named the AI crypto czar. And Elon is focused on government efficiency. He's been actively tweeting about the IT infrastructure stack inside of the government. All of this lines up to, well, wait a second. Palantir has everyone that supports them, supports their mission, and quite frankly, really loves the company. Like actually has a amicable relationship to the company inside of the White House in the most influential position. Well, we are only continuing that trend. Folks, Jacob Hellberg, some of you guys might not know him, but some of you guys who are, really into the Palantir ecosystem, you might. If you don't, that's okay. But he is a senior advisor to Palantir CEO Alex Karp. I actually got a chance to meet him back in DC in May. He just got nominated to be the next Undersecretary of State. Now, I had no idea what this position meant. Looked it up last night. Undersecretary of State is a senior official in the U.S. Department of State serving directly under the Secretary of State. These people are responsible for overseeing specific areas of U.S. foreign policy, diplomacy, and administrative functions. Trump said right here, in this role, Jacob will be a champion to our America First foreign policy. He will guide State Department policy on economic statecraft, promoting America's economic security and growth, and American technological dominance abroad. So American efficiency from an economic perspective and American exceptionalism from a technological perspective. This guy, who is a senior advisor to Alex Karp and has been for the past year, is now in that position. Jacob is a successful technology executive, has the knowledge, expertise, and pragmatism to defend America's economic interests abroad, and always puts America first. So now you got JD Vance, who's the VP, close connections to Peter Thiel. David Sachs, close connections to Peter Thiel as well. He has publicly stated Palantir as an AI moat. Jacob Hellberg, the latest person to be a senior advisor to Palantir and now in the Secretary of State office. And then Elon Musk, who literally shared a video of Alex Karp talking to his 200 million followers because he liked what Karp was saying. And Karp was essentially saying, hey, the government needs to be strong. We need to be protected. We need to feel safe. And Elon thinking that the government obviously needs to be more efficient with Doge in terms of how we run our IT infrastructure, our software stack. I understand the valuation has gotten rich, and I know it's rich. I know when I even say it's gotten rich, that's like understating how rich the valuation is at 60 times revenue. I get it. But part of the reason may be from believing that over the next 4 years, the government business could show much more substantial growth. Would that still justify the valuation? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, this is a stock that is always going to be expensive. And we kind of just have to accept that it has a premium for a variety of reasons that maybe not be numerical. But one of the reasons might be that everyone who loves Palantir is in the highest of positions inside of the White House. And because of that, you just got a market that says, well, wait a second, how do we bet against Palantir at that point? At that point, the market's like, we know they're going to get deals, even if they're expensive. We know the growth is coming. So the question just becomes, do they get a premium on top of that growth? And it's like, if the markets want to give that premium, then that is what potentially will keep Palantir expensive as well. So that's what you had in the context of Palantir last night from Jacob Hellberg. That was really big news. And then this morning, we got some updates on Warp Speed. So for those that don't know what Warp Speed is the new vertical manufacturing, American manufacturing operating system. Shyam Sankar basically described it a couple quarters ago on the earnings call as like reindustrializing America through software by helping hardware companies actually become more efficient, more productive, increase their margins, productivity, all that stuff through a dedicated software stack. I believe it's still utilizing Foundry, Apollo, AIP, all that good stuff, but it's a particularized platform for that niche, which means it's built with certain purpose access controls in order for that niche to survive. And today, Palantir announced some partners. So the first client cohort of its new manufacturing operating system was Anduril, one of the first to use Warp Speed, and they got a 200x efficiency gain in anticipating and responding to supply shortages. Shield AI improves iteration speed for engineering changes and optimizes production plans to meet the customer demand that they have. L3 Harris uses Warp Speed to close the loop between design, configuration, and production, enabling production planning in parallel to ongoing configuration improvements. And Panasonic, which is the company that builds the batteries for Tesla as well, uses Warp Speed to quickly evolve mission-critical systems to unlock operational efficiencies and resilience against potential global supply chain disruptions. Look, this is some cool shit, bro. This is some cool shit. And this is why I think Palantir continues to get the premium. When you've got all these partners that are actually gaining results. Again, Palantir is selling you results more than they're selling you anything. And you're seeing these results for very important companies. L3 Harris, big government contractor, Panasonic, big company that does Tesla batteries, Anduril, one of the becoming largest defense contractors. When they're able to say we're using something like Warp Speed and we're actually gaining results, and it's actually built for American reindustrialization. That's bullish. That is very bullish. Does that mean the stock is not expensive? Of course not. That does mean the stock is expensive, or that doesn't take away from the stock being expensive, but it further goes to show the premium that's being attached to the stock. And that's why I think Palantir continues to get this momentum. From a government side, everyone in the government that is in this administration really likes Palantir, and that could lead to more government deals. And then from a commercial side, they are just continuously innovating with new products, new updates, and actually showing you the results from those products and updates. And that's what's getting the market to say, you know what? We're going to keep buying Palantir. Up 3% on the day right now, 73.10 on Palantir. Robinhood 3.43% up on the day. AppLovin is up 2%. AppLovin had a nasty day yesterday, down 6%, down 10% the day before. TLT right here is kind of flat on the day. SoFi is up 1.3%. General Motors is up 2%. GameStop, they were profitable. So GameStop had a decent earnings. They're profitable, and they said they're not going to dilute anymore. They're up 3.42%. And Tesla right here up 2% on the day as we get into the market open. Isn't Panasonic Energy helping Tesla with the batteries? Correct. In their Sparks, Nevada factory, which is where Palantir is working with them to create kind of like a smart digital factory, a more data-driven, digitally transformed factory. That is the factory that is helping Tesla create the batteries. And they have a potential pilot contract to work with them in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas next year in 2025, to further extend that contract. And that's what you want to see. You want to see these extensions of these contracts happen because, Palantir is producing results, and those results are ultimately what should continue increasing the growth. So that's what we got. That's what we got in the context of Palantir. Someone says, does Palantir have any risk of being too connected to Trump pick something conflict of interest? No, I don't think so. When people say conflict of interest, I think it's an elementary way of understanding how the world works. Everything is a conflict of interest. Everything is a conflict. I mean, you don't think Google has conflicts of interest? You don't think Microsoft has conflicts of interest? I mean, like everything. When we're talking about the government business, you don't think Raytheon and Lockheed Martin for years have had people on their board of directors that just so happen to know the guy that signs off on the check for a certain deal? Like everything to me is a conflict of interest. And that's just me being realistic. That's not me saying I like it, I hate it. I think that's just realistic. The honest truth to me is that conflict of interest in the interest of the nation? And what I think we can all objectively agree on is Palantir Software is trying to save the most amount of money and actually defend Western values over just making $1. Because we know that's what the company didn't make any profits for 20 years because of that mission. So when I think of Palantir getting a deal because of a quote unquote conflict of interest, I don't care. Not because I'm a shareholder, quite frankly, because if Palantir wasn't getting it, then who else is going to get it? Because whoever else is going to get it, I don't think has the best interest in mind versus Palantir. That's kind of my perspective on this. And you can agree with it, disagree with it, but I think we have to be realistic. We can't be kids when we're talking about, conflicts of interest. Everything in the world is a conflict of interest in some capacity. The question is it a good one or a bad one? I mean, Nancy Pelosi trading stocks, is that not a conflict of interest? Yeah, but we're still going to follow her into her picks, right? Because we might as well follow her. And the regular person knows that if Nancy Pelosi is buying Broadcom, then that's a signal that we could buy Broadcom, even if we don't have her intel. It all comes down to, is it somewhat used in an ethical way? And I think if we can justify it, in a world that's very hard to kind of find these ethical configurations, then that's how you kind of deal with the quote unquote conflict of interest. But that's what we got in the context of Palantir currently right now. And that's some of the news that we got yesterday after the Jacob Helper news. Okay, cool. So let's talk about Tom Lee. Let's go into some macro. We got some macro stuff to discuss. Tom Lee has put out his 2025 price target. And I was a bit perplexed by it, even though I didn't find the news on Perplexity. That was bad. That was a bad joke. Why do I make these jokes in front of all these people in the morning? I don't know why. Okay, Martin says amid just normalized conflict of interest. So hold on. This is something really important. I actually believe in this right here. Martin, I love you. You're a Tesla investor. You don't think there's any conflict of interest with Elon and Trump, right? Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, everything in the world, obviously Tesla's getting a freaking $400 billion in market cap over the past couple of weeks. That is quite literally due to the fact that Elon Musk is now best friends with the guy who's going to get rid of these regulations on self-driving. By the way, Elon's buying a property, Bloomberg reported yesterday, near Mar-a-Lago. Elon's going to be living next to Trump to an extent, right? Like, this is what I'm saying. Everything is a conflict of interest. Now, Martin says right here, I'm railing against the conflict with Elon and Trump. That's fair. You might not like that. That's fair. I get it. I think a lot of Tesla shareholders do like that. But this is my point, right? Like, Elon and Trump, obviously conflict of interest. That has done very well for Tesla stock. You either go the super straight, narrow, ethical route and say, that's bad. I don't like that. That shouldn't happen. Tesla stock shouldn't get any momentum because of that. Or you go the other route that says, well, you know what? Biden had conflicts of interest with GM and Ford and all this stuff, and every administration has conflicts of interest. I'm happy that at least a company that's actually doing stuff for humanity and innovating, and if you care anything about climate change and the EV revolution, yada, yada, you can justify it in any other way, has a conflict of interest with the most powerful man in the world, which is Donald Trump. You go one way or the other, right? And I'm not saying one way is good, one way is bad, but ultimately it comes down to kind of where do you fall from an ideological perspective on that. But that's ultimately, I think, how we have to kind of conceptually think of this idea of certain companies having benefits due to working with the government. Okay, Tom Lee. Let's talk about Tom Lee. Here we go. What is Tom Lee saying? Here's what we got, folks. Now, this is very interesting. Tom Lee thinks we're going to get 7,000 on the S&P 500 by mid-year. So talk about June 2025. But then we're going to close at 6,600. What a prediction by Tom Lee, huh? What a prediction by Tom Lee. Peter, thank you for the $5 super chat. I call it an alignment of interest. That's great, Peter. That's a funny one. I call it an alignment of interest. That's a good one. Thank you, Peter, for the super chat. Appreciate you being here. So Lee sees tailwinds like a Fed put and Trump policies boosting markets early in 2025, along with S&P EPS growth of estimates 275 to 300. Okay, so he thinks we're going to be trading at the high end. However, after June of 2025, he says history shows 20% gains often fade. And if the Fed stops spending as much because of Doge and Trump has more tariffs, all of that will culminate into that 7,000 S&P 500 target to come in at 6,600. I think all of the bullish analysts like Deutsche Bank and BMO and Oppenheimer and Ed Jordani, I think they're looking at this morning and they're probably a little scared. Not because they don't trust in their own analysis, but when the permeable Tom Lee says that we're going to go high, but we're going to end up low, and you are, not a permeable, you're just a regular market analyst that has a 71 or 7,200 price target, you look even more bullish than the permeable. Again, Tom Lee has a $250,000 price target on Bitcoin by the end of 2025. So this is a very unique scenario. I will be one to say I did not expect Tom Lee to come out and say we're going to go up and then we're going to go down. Again, 6,600 is not low. That's correct. That's, I think, about 12% up from from these current levels, which is really good. But I really did not expect him to say that we're going to have some problems if we hit 7,000. So this is the first, I think, bearish, even though it's not literally bearish, but just this graphic itself, this graphic itself kind of accentuates the pseudo bearishness that Tom Lee is implying right here. And I didn't expect that to get from Tom Lee, but this is the first really, again, I say bearish, but it's not really bearish type of analysis we've got. Every other analyst would say, oh, we're going to go to 6,500. They don't have this, so we're going to go super up and then super down. Or the analysts say we're just going to 7,000. Tom Lee takes the best of both worlds and say, we're going to go to 7,000, but then we're going to come right back down. And I don't know, dude. I kind of don't think that's going to happen. I don't have my full predictions yet for 2025, but I kind of don't think this is how it's going to play out. I don't see us getting all the way to 7,000 and then coming all the way back down and then going back to 6,600. Like that to me, I feel like either we get to 7,000 and it's a slow grind up, or we never get to 7,000 and we naturally take away in an even slower grind up to like 65, 6,600. I don't think it's like go all the way up, come all the way down. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong. But it feels a little bit of a, there's predictions and then there's like you have a crystal ball. This feels like a crystal ball, bro. This feels like he literally is seeing the chart go up and down and then he's like, all right, this is how it's going to look. And I'm like, I don't think anyone can do that. And if anyone could do that, maybe it's Tom Lee. But to me, that's just a little aggressive in terms of the prediction. But maybe that's the case. Maybe that would happen. And that's what Tom Lee ultimately is saying right here. Also, 7,000 by June 2025, right? Mid next year. That's an aggressive argument, bro. To go from 6,000 to 7,000 in what, 6 months? At least the analysts that say 7,000, they're saying by the end of next year, which is 12 months. We have another 6 months to get it, another 2 quarters of earnings growth to kind of bake in to get to that level. For Tom Lee to say that it's going to happen in June, I don't know. It just feels kind of weird if that would end up playing out. But that is the prediction you had by Tom Lee. I'm sure he'll be on CNBC later today or tomorrow kind of talking about that prediction and going more in depth on it. His picks for 2025, no surprise, are small caps, financials, and then he has a $250,000 target on Bitcoin. So that is what ultimately he's thinking for Bitcoin, small caps, and financials going into 2025. For those that are just joining, CPI came in at 2.7%, in line with expectations. You got the S&P 500 right here, up about 50 basis 50 bips right here, up 0.47%. So about 0.5%, which is good. It was down about 30 bips yesterday. So that's up. Robinhood up about 3%. AppLovin up 2%. SMCI still down 4.7%. Let me see if there's any news on SMCI. Yesterday, we did see SMCI give back all of their gains. Oh, wow. We got some news from Argentina. What is this news on Argentina? Argentina looks like they got some good stuff here. Let me try to get this Argentina. It looks like they are resolving the deficit for the first time this year. Is that what I'm looking at? Yeah, Milei just ended the deficit for the first time in 120 years. Holy crap. Take a look at that. That's some amazing. Where's RGT? ARGT is the Argentinian ETF. Let me check if that's up. ARGT. That's up slightly, 0.12%. But Milei says the deficit was the root of our all evils. Without it, there's no debt, there's no emission, there's no inflation. Today, we have a sustained fiscal surplus, free of default for the first time in 123 years. This historic achievement came from the greatest adjustment in history in reducing monetary emission to zero. A year ago, a degenerate, he called him a degenerate, printed 13% of GDP to win an election, fueling inflation. Today, monetary emission is a thing of the past. Wow. Shout out to Milei. Shout out to Argentina. That is capitalism showing its strength and liberalization, kind of resolving some of the issues in these economies. And now Argentina's inflation rate is still over 200%, so it's not like inflation is 2.7% like us, but it looks like they are trying to get that under control, and maybe stopping the money printer is one of the ways to make that happen. Okay, in terms of SMCI, we have no news on SMCI. I don't see anything on SMCI outside of the fact that people are saying don't trust them because of ethics issues, but there's no fundamental news, I think, why SMCI is down outside of people either taking profits or just not trusting that SMCI is legit right now. So SMCI currently still down about 4.5%. NVIDIA is up 1.8%. Now, we did get short float updates, so let me give you a couple of those updates. One is Palantir, and this was really interesting when I saw this last night. So Palantir short float, everyone's saying Palantir is the most overvalued company in the world, biggest bubble, yada, yada. No one wants to put their money where their mouth is. The short float is down 10.8% over the past 2 weeks. 3.7% of the float. Are you kidding me? The most overvalued bubble company on the planet has a 3% short float. Like, for everyone thinking Palantir has to go back down to 30, 40, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying you kind of need people to really have bad sentiment. And one of the ways to get bad sentiment is to have people short your stock. And this is as of November 29th, when Palantir was still at this level, around $75. So if that's the case and people are not shorting Palantir, it's because they're scared. I mean, it's because they just don't trust the idea that the economic perspectives of Palantir being quote unquote overvalued are enough to justify going short on a company like that. Another one that people say is the shittiest company in the world, but they're not really willing to keep shorting, SoFi. Now, SoFi has a higher short float at 12.8%, but it's down 8%. About 12 million shares, it was 148 million last week, now it's 136 million, have been returned, aka covered, on the short position on SoFi. So you're seeing more people say, you know what, we think 2025 is going to be good for SoFi. Probably shouldn't be short a growing financial company in a year where financials can have a massive tailwind with the Trump administration. And so SoFi as well going down, or their short float going down, even though they got that downgrade by Bank of America the other day. SoFi right here in the pre-markets is up 1.37%, 1550, holding that 15 level really well. On a short report in a regular day, it would be down like 8%. It's been down 4 or 5%, but it's been holding 15 really well, which is not too bad. Snapchat right here up 0.4%. PayPal got upgraded, but they gave away a lot of their gains. They went from 93 back to 88 to right now 89 in the pre-markets. Grab is up 3%. Why not? Of course, Grab. Why shouldn't it be up 3%? Yeah, of course. Like you try to build a position in something that has 4 billion shares. You think it'll be subdued after being up 70%. I don't know, folks. I think the market's figuring out a little bit of Grab. I really do. I know there's 4 billion shares outstanding. I don't expect to move all the way to $6 because there's too many shares outstanding, in my opinion, for it to move that much unless it gets a lot of attention. And I think it's moving a little bit more. And I say that, I mean, if you just go on Twitter and type in Grab and you start seeing the people talking about it, there's a lot more people that are like discussing that thesis more. So I think that one's getting some excitement. And as long as they can maintain profitability, free cash flow, and EBITDA margins going higher, then 2025 might end up being good for them. Ethereum right here at 3,700. Rocket Lab up 0.79%. Reddit up another 4% on the day. Reddit's been very volatile, which is why those covered call premiums are great. But Reddit's up right there. And then you got Google after that quantum computing news right here, up green now. The pre-market's 187. It was at 186 yesterday, up about 7%. There you go. That's what we got currently in the pre-markets. Is the Fed going to cut as expected? Anyone? Well, if we look at the probabilities, even after we got the CMI or the CPI news today, Fed cuts do look like, wow, take a look at this, folks. It's been 10 minutes or not 10 minutes. It's been basically an hour since we got CPI. It was at 85% in the first 10 minutes of CPI, 94.5%. That's probably why the market's up right now. We're getting a cut, folks. We're getting a cut. We are getting a cut. And that's good. As long as inflation kind of quells down in 2025, no one's going to have a problem with this. The problem is if inflation really ticks up, which it's ticked up slightly over the past couple of months, but if we get back to 3% just from a philosophical perspective, that's not going to be the best. And the Fed's going to have a hard time justifying more cuts. But we're at 95% right now. We're getting that December cut. And then in January, we'll see kind of what inflation looks like. We got a Ben Shapiro shout out to Shyam Sankar. Take a look at that. Ben Shapiro said, if you want to know how the defense structure can become fast, efficient, and deadly again, here's the answer from Shyam Sankar. Wow. Talk about going mainstream, dude. Ben Shapiro talking about Shyam Sankar. And then this is a graphic that someone shared right here. This is the market cap of defense companies. Palantir, are we still at 173 billion? Palantir, 161. So this is a little higher than before, but Palantir now, one of the more valuable defense companies in the world. Okay, cool. So that's what we got in the context of CPI data. We got about 4 minutes until the market opens. Let's see what other headlines we got going on. And then today's going to be a really important market open. A, because we want to see if Tesla can hold 400. B, we want to see if CPI is enough confidence for the market to continue its momentum and not really have too much of red that we saw over the past couple of days. Here's a headline that I think a lot of people probably haven't heard about, but it's interesting. And I think this was important. So I was just about to share something about Japan. Shout out to AR saying, what do you think about Japan BOJ interest rate hike fears? I'll talk about that, but it goes in line with this headline. Look at what Japan is doing. Tokyo is implementing a 4-day work week to tackle their population crisis. People are not producing enough kids in Tokyo. And so Tokyo's like, how do we solve this? We're going to give people Friday off, and we hope they go to the club and party and meet somebody and have some freaking kids. Tokyo's making a bold move to fight its demographic crisis, cutting the work week to 4 days for government employees in particular, because obviously they can't do this for private companies, starting in April. So the governor is saying, hey, we're going to let parents clock out 2 hours early for childcare duties. And, we're going to encourage people to clock out early on a Friday to go have some fun and make babies. Japan's hoping less time at the office means more time for family planning. This is the ultimate work-life balance from a government mandate. Kind of wild, right? Kind of wild. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, this, I think, is very important to understand from a macroeconomic perspective around the idea of overall growth. Japan, in particular, has the world's oldest population, and they need care for that older population. You need someone to do that job, right? And the problem is if a younger population is not producing more, and the younger population in general is not, building the next Google. And I mean, one of the reasons why America is so great is because Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook when he was 23, right? And so you got someone at 23 who now spent the past, I think, 20 years of his life, I think he's in his late 30s, building $1.5 trillion of wealth, which is Facebook's market cap. And then think of all of the companies that have benefited off Facebook advertising, right? Just in terms of small companies, mom and pop shops, etc. No one's really doing that in Japan. They don't have that innovation. My thoughts on raising rates, it would be horrible for innovation in Japan because you need more people to like innovate, and you need lower rates to incentivize that. And you need deflation to not take over, which is what the problem Japan is having with right now. And then you need people to also produce. So I think this has implications for Optimus and humanoid robotics, because if young people are not taking care of the elderly, you're going to need someone to do that. And that is where robotics come in. I think that's going to be a massive market for Tesla. And then second of all, you need people to produce to have more innovation eventually. Someone needs to come up with companies, right? The government's not going to be able to come up with the next Toyota in Japan or Mitsubishi or Nintendo. You need some kid who has an idea that's going to do it one day. For that, you just need more kids to be alive. And it looks like that's what Japan's trying to figure out right now to ultimately have an economy that's hopefully not in the gutter over the next 20 years as they try to innovate. All right, here we go, folks. 9:30, Wednesday, December 11th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your asses up. Here we go. Tesla at $409. Tesla first open above 400 on the day, and really first open above 400 in the past couple of years right here. Tesla right here at 408. It is up 2% in the opening markets. It was at 411 in the pre-markets. 408 on Tesla. SoFi up 1.14%. Google 187 up another 50 bips. Palantir 72.32 up 2.1% on the day. So you got Palantir getting a green candle right there as we are currently up. Down a little bit from the pre-markets, but still up on the day, which is not bad for Palantir. QQQ 524. Qs not bad either. Qs are almost at an all-time high, up 0.8%. Robinhood 37.79. Robinhood's up 1.179% as we get into the market open. You have AppLovin up 1.75%. You got General Motors that officially got rid of their robo-taxi business as of last night. They are officially out of it, folks. They are up 0.5%. Market likes that they are getting out of this particular area. You got GameStop right here at 28.70. GameStop up 6.7%. GameStop, the reason they're up is because GameStop now has a surprise profit, which was good for the market, and they said they're not going to be diluting. Walgreens, a Wall Street Journal article came out yesterday that they're going to go private in a private equity deal. They were up 17% yesterday, but that rumor is not confirmed. They're down 2% currently right now. SoFi's up 1%. Tesla 408. NVIDIA 136. NVIDIA up 1.29%. S&P 500 is up 50 bips. Market likes it. Market likes it. S&P 500 was red the past 2 days. S&P 500 is now green on this CPI news. Robinhood up 2.18% on the day. Let's go to the crypto proxies. Crypto is green across the board. Bitcoin, 98,600. CleanSpark's up 1%. Coinbase is up 2%. MicroStrategy trying to make its way back to 390, up 3% on the day. Robinhood up 2%. Bitcoin mining ETF up 2.8%. BidX, 2x leverage Bitcoin, that's at 61. Marathon, that took a nasty hit yesterday, up 9%. They are up 3.9% currently on the day. Not bad. Rocket Lab is down. Rocket Lab is down 3%. I don't know why Rocket Lab is being sold off, but it's being sold off. Now, again, Rocket Lab is up like 250% year to date, even with the like 15% decline over the past couple of days. So I don't think it's a big deal. You would think there would be a little bit of a pump because SpaceX just got valued officially at $350 billion. So you would think maybe some people get a proxy in Rocket Lab, but that is not happening. Rocket Lab kind of selling off right here on this news, down about 3% currently right now. Uber is down. Uber's been having a tough week. Wow, another 2%. Holy crap. The long Tesla short Uber trade has been working phenomenally for bulls. I mean, if you take a look at Uber year to date, this bad boy was at 87. It's at 63. Nothing fundamental happened with Uber from 87 to 63. Nothing with their free cash flow, nothing with their profits, nothing with their EBITDA margins, nothing with their net income growth. It has quite literally been Tesla showing that maybe you don't need to call an Uber in 5 years, and the market's already pricing in that growth because they're afraid of Uber. So Uber down another 2.27% currently right now. SoFi at 1530. SoFi giving up some of its gains. NVIDIA right here, 136. Tesla still holding on. Tesla right there breaking 410. Let me check the resistance on Tesla. I think in the pre-markets we hit 411. So let's see what the resistance is on Tesla. Grab is also red. Grab at 543. Grab is slightly red, down 0.09%, but Grab is red. Let's take a look at Tesla resistance right here. 411.94. Look at that. Maybe we see 412. 412 resistance is nothing. It's like 100 shares. So I think 412 we can get there. I think, oh, there we go. We're at 412. There you go. 412 on Tesla. There you go. 414 is the all-time high. So let me check the resistance on 414. 414 is, honestly, there's not that many walls. At 415, you have 190,000 shares. At 414, you have 100,000 shares. And then at 413, you have like 40,000 shares, 45,000 shares. So, or 46,000. So a little bit of resistance on each of those dollars, but volume already at 8.4 million. It's not like there's a million shares waiting at 414 trying to get sold off. So I think there is a shot Tesla can maybe make that all-time high, even though it's already hit an all-time high valuation, but psychologically it would be cool to see 414. Robinhood right here up 2%, 38.10. Robinhood was down 5% yesterday. AppLovin at 325. They're up 1.3%. Carnival Cruise, they were down yesterday. They're up 1.63. Celsius, not bad, folks. Celsius Looks like it might have bottomed at 25.23, now at 31.42. If you're in this name, congrats. Celsius right here, up 2.6%. Target 135. Gold is up a little bit today. Micron 1.26. I think they got upgraded this morning. They're up a little bit. TSM is up 1.19%. TSM still $1 trillion company. Grindr down 1.77%. It was at 1630 yesterday. Now back at 1550. Lyft right here down 4% as well, just like Uber. Lyft getting hit. Google 190. Oh boy, look at the Googs. Look at the Googs. Wow, congrats to those in Google. 190 psychologically. The last time we saw that was in July. Last time we saw that, look at that year-to-date chart. We saw 192 July 9th. So last time we were in this 190 range was in July. We went all the way down to one. We actually, well, yeah. Oh my gosh, we had 148. That was in September. That wasn't even in August. On August 5th, the low was 157. In September, we actually had 148. Sentiment got that bad, and now we're back at 190. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible for Google. Shout out to Zocold. He's been long Google. I'm beneficial. He's been long Google. We got a bunch of you in the chat who have been super long Google. You guys deserve it. Google still at 190 is cheap. I mean, it's trading at 20 times 2026 earnings. It was trading at, I think, 15 times at 148 2026 earnings, which just on a forward basis, it was incredibly cheap. And you have to look past the DOJ. You have to look past the Perplexity stuff. And now this quantum computer makes people, like, literally they got upgrades today to 225, I think, by Morgan Stanley. And the note was that quantum computing shows us that innovation is alive at Google. I'm going to get the report in a second. And if that's the case, that definitely shifted the sentiment right here in the context of Google. Look at that, 191 on Google. Where's the other Mag 7? Apple is, again, the most valuable company in the world. 249. Apple wants 250, folks. Apple wants 250. Apple right there at 248. Microsoft at 445. Meta at 630. New all-time high for Meta. $1.6 trillion market cap. Google 191. Amazon 229. New all-time high for Amazon. 2.4 trillion. Nvidia 135. Tesla 408. Apple at 248. And then Costco right here surpassing $1,000 a share. Talk about a little expensive right here. Costco. I know people complain about Palantir. Costco is trading at 56 times earnings. I'm just saying, Costco's not growing that much, but investors, they love their special dividend, and they probably love the sticky customer base that Costco has, amounting to a moat for Costco. 1,003 on Costco. I think Netflix got upgraded today as well. Netflix is up 2.3%, 934. Netflix is also green on the day. Can you tell me why Apple is going up? It is melting up with the broader economy. You've got passive index funds and ETFs that are buying Apple stock. That is my logic for why why Apple's going up. Because I mean, you could say, oh, the market's expecting a big holiday season. Palantir now going red, down 1% of the day. Tesla as well going, not red yet, but Tesla getting sold off right here. But I think it's more so just like people have to buy Apple stock because they have to buy the ETFs, and Apple's getting a benefit from that. I don't know. I don't think that many people are going to upgrade on the holiday season. I think we'll have people buying iPads and Macs and AirPods. And so I bought a couple AirPods over the past month, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like this massive upgrade cycle. But another reason it could be up is because the iPhone Siri integration with ChatGPT is out today. I haven't downloaded yet. I'll download the update in a bit, and I will talk to Siri and see if she is useful at all. But maybe the street's like, all right, Apple Intelligence has kind of been crappy. SoFi going red. Maybe it gets better with this new update. Robinhood, 38.24 up 2.45%. We're seeing some red now on some of these names. So Hims down 6%. Don't know why that's down, but that's down. SoFi just went red. Palantir. Oh, wow. Someone's dumping Palantir. Palantir below 70. There you go. The first below 70 we've seen in 2 weeks. Palantir down 2.08%. On Friday, Bloomberg Intelligence is reporting that it is a lock-in. Again, this is Bloomberg, not me. Saying that Palantir and MicroStrategy are getting into the NASDAQ. They're getting into the QQQ. So this could be a little bit of a pre-dump before that happens. This could be selling the news, or this could be people just taking profits. We are definitely getting some sellers. Look at that, 68 on Palantir. We are definitely getting people taking some profits right here, which again is normal. Stocks trading at, pretty expensive multiple at 60 times price to sales. You would imagine that people take some profits right here, but we are seeing a 3% decline in potential NASDAQ inclusion on Friday. Google right here, 191. Google's trying to go for 192. S&P's green. Robinhood still holding its green. Square, where's Square? Square was picked as a top pick at Morgan Stanley and Bernstein. Square is right here up 2.41%. And our good friend Steve wrote an article about Square yesterday. He'll come on the show later this week to talk about it. But Square is one of those picks that the market thinks hasn't run with the other crypto names, actually has really good fundamentals. And you got Square right here up 2.44% on the day. Uber is down over 3%. Correct. Uber is down over 3% right now. Again, some of those Tesla fears. Reddit continuously gaining momentum. Reddit doing very well. 162 up 4% of the day. I think it was at 187 at one point over the past couple days. Beneficial says, let's not act like people shouldn't expect weakness eventually in Palantir. Yeah, I think most people in this chat are smart enough to know that we should expect weakness, or we shouldn't be surprised by weakness. I don't think we need to see some 40, 50% decline, but we also should not freak out if Palantir heads into the low 60s or even the high 50s. Like, it's expensive, dude. It's expensive. Like, we can see from the insider selling, obviously the insiders are selling at record paces because they believe it's expensive. The good thing is the institutions are buying it over retail, which is why, the stock hasn't tanked. But there is no world in which I think anyone will be surprised as even Palantir bulls if it goes down. Now, if you're buying shares at $80, $70 on margin, you're probably going to be mad. But then you got to ask yourself, right, is that the smartest decision? And maybe it works out. Maybe Palantir pumps all the way to 150. But maybe it doesn't, right? And so obviously we know Palantir is expensive. I don't think anyone would be upset if it takes a little bit of a breather. But it is down right here, 1.4%. And you do have some green candles coming in at 68.59, now back at 69.85. Down 1% on the day. Tesla right here got some green candles as well. 408 up 1.75%. It did get rejected at 413, back at 407. Netflix at 930. Google at 192. Let me try to find the Google upgrade. I want to read that real quick and see what the market thinks about this quantum computing stuff as well. Okay, here we go. So this is Bank of America. They are giving Google a 210. They're giving Google 210. So this is what Bank of America has to say. While the commercial induction of the quantum technology may still be years away, Willow could drastically speed up the training capabilities of Google's foundation models. Potential applications include drug discovery, advanced material design, next generation encryption solutions, etc. Over the long term, quantum innovation has the potential to create a significant tech moat. They're saying this over something that has no application yet. So like the fact that Google was able to introduce this, it's getting the street excited. In the context of Alphabet. In the near term, we think that Google's innovation with TPUs could be underappreciated as TPUs, which is their own custom chips, advancements could accelerate the training and inference of Google's own AI models while improving cost efficiency versus peers. So quantum computing, something that is years away. The market's saying, well, Google is the only one that's coming out with a real computer that can solve a problem that the fastest supercomputer today would take 10 septillion years to solve. So in the context of drug discovery, encryption, all these other applications that are probably conducive with artificial general intelligence, you got Google that's making the street pretty damn excited over like a potential tech moat. That a lot of people have been saying Google doesn't have a tech moat. People think Google has a moat, but a tech moat, given their lack of leadership on AI, has been questioned. Quantum computing now may be making people feel that they're just innovating a lot more than other people. I mean, this really took people by surprise. No one expected Google to come out with a quantum computer outside of Steve, who said all these other quantum computing stocks are stupid because Google is going to win. But to expect Google to say we have solved a very hard problem and none of you guys knew about it, which means we kept it under wraps and we worked on it for the past probably 10 years and now we have some results to show for it. It just goes to show how much money they have on R&D and how much that can actually lead to benefits long-term for Google. GameStop right here up 6.3%. GM is giving up its gains. SMCI, nasty decline right here, down 7%. Got a little bit of a green candle, but you are down 7%. You were down 8% yesterday, so 15% down for SMCI. 15% down for SMCI currently right now. Well, over the past 2 days. SMCI getting hit. So SMCI is down. All the semis are green except SMCI and Intel. Intel is just a mess right now, dude. Intel is a mess. Also, is this quantum computing thing bullish for Intel? No, not really. Like, you got a lot of things just working against Intel right now. And until they get a new CEO, I think the street's going to be waiting. Wow, look at Broadcom up 5%. That's interesting. That's a little bit of a pre-earnings pump. They have earnings today after the bell. Again, Broadcom, the 12th most largest company by market cap in the world. Oh, here's the news. Apple is teaming up with Broadcom to develop its first AI-focused server chip, integrating advanced networking tech for AI processing. That's probably why Apple was up as well. Look at that. Apple and Broadcom working together. Apple and Broadcom. I mean, Apple saying, all right, we're going to work with some of these chip companies to build more unique AI-focused server chips on our Apple devices, iPads, Macs, iPhones. And you got Broadcom, who's been selected to be able to do this. That's actually pretty big news, dude. And I think this is a reason it came out on the day of earnings. Broadcom's probably going to speak about how they're getting a lot of demand from Apple, or not just from Apple, but from the broader industry in terms of building custom chips. Broadcom right here up 4.7%. This one year to date, I think it's up 50% year to date. They are up 65%. So they've had a good year as well. They are, I mean, look, they're up there, right? You could see a little bit of a Dell today after hours. Dell was at 150. Now Dell's at 116 after earnings. Earnings just weren't enough to live up to the valuation. Maybe that happens with Broadcom. Broadcom now at 180. They also did a 10 for 1 split. So pre-split, this would be 1800. But maybe their growth really is that good. And the market's just like, all right, it's time for Broadcom to go a little bit higher. Bitcoin 99K. That is not bad. By the way, SoFi might be bringing back crypto. There are some potential regulations in the Trump administration that may get rid of this whole idea that banks can't offer crypto products, which is the reason why SoFi had to get rid of crypto a year ago. And if that comes back, that's going to be potentially good for SoFi and their crypto ambitions. Robinhood right here, 3810, up 1.98% of the day. Bitcoin trying to make its way back to 100,000 at 99,000 currently right now. There you go. That's what we got on Bitcoin. Will TSM benefit from Google's quantum computing? You know, I'm not sure. I think the semiconductor names will benefit because I think there are supply chains in which chip companies do get a boost from the quantum computing innovation based on the industry that it creates. Palantir right here down about 4%, 6811. But I don't know. I don't know if Google is just going to have a monopoly over kind of the end-to-end vertical integration of building this quantum computing software and hardware, which means maybe TSM doesn't benefit. Like I really haven't done enough research to know, but what I do know is that if quantum computing actually becomes a thing over the next 5 years, you've got another vertical along with AI, FSD, robotics, eVTOLs, et cetera, that could increase GDP growth, which is what we need for the broader stock market to continue to do well. So I think all around it's good news, and obviously very good news for Google in terms of showing their innovation. Google right here at 191.74, up 2.78%. Palantir 2.85%, 6807 so far was the low. We'll see if the buyers step in for Palantir and if we can head back to 70 or if we stay in the 60s. Tesla's still at 405. So Tesla holding 400, even though it's down from 412, but it is holding 400, which is nice to see. And I think a second day of holding above 400 would be super bullish for Tesla. Okay, cool. So that's what we got going on. Amit, do you think the market sells off tomorrow morning prior to Powell's meeting? Well, Powell's meeting next week, December 18th. So Powell's not meeting tomorrow, unless there is some speech he's giving tomorrow that I don't know about. But no, I think the market is happy we got a rate cut. I think the market's going to price in that rate cut appropriately. And I think the rate cut is going to be good along with going into the end of the year. So I don't think the inflation data we got today was bad. I think the rate cut is going to be bullish. Obviously, the market has priced it in, but I think you get towards the end of the year, really after Christmas is when you see kind of the market continue to do well. That sort of Santa rally that people talk about towards the end of the year, it happens after Christmas. So I don't think anything in the inflation data today should make the market scared. I think if we got 2.9, then yeah, it would be bad, but 2.7 in line with expectations, 3.3 on the core. I think that's fine. And as long as that's the case, then we shouldn't have too many issues. Let's hear from Evercore ISI from Julian Emanuel, who I've mistakenly called Julian Edelman many times, yesterday on CNBC, talking about why they're bullish in 2025. Again, this guy was one of the biggest bears in 2023. By mid-2024, he ended up being bullish, and now he is continuously bullish going into 2025. So let's get his take on kind of why the market should do well next year and what logic he has to say for why that's playing out. Here's Evercore. I think he has a 6,600 on 2025 mid-year S&P 500.
Citigroup U.S. equity strategist and Julian Emanuel, Evercore ISI senior managing director, both join us here at Post 9. Scott's bull case for the S&P year-end 2025 is 6,900. Julian sees the S&P hitting 6,600 by mid-year 2025. Good morning to both of you. So you both expect another good year, even though, I mean, did anyone expect a year like this?
I know we certainly didn't expect it going in, but I think the assumption was that we'd get follow through on the earnings broadening thesis, which kind of played out. But what really surprised everybody was the valuation backdrop, where if you would have told me a year ago at this time that we were going to end the year 24 times trailing, we might have looked quizzically at each other. And I think that's really been the big surprise in terms of how aggressively the market's pricing in a lot of bullish expectations about the longer term outlook.
So what does that mean, Julian, for the setup for next year?
Well, if you think about it, right, you've come off of what's going to be 2 years of plus 20% or more. The third year tends to be positive. It tends to be volatile. And if you think about the policy setup, the incoming Trump administration, we think that the first year of the second term is going to look a lot like the second year of the first term. Volatility, higher stocks, driven by tax policy, driven by immigration, driven by, literally all the concepts of starting new in terms of government and policy. But again,
you don't worry about we were talking about immigration and tariffs and potential negative impacts of those policies.
Well, you do worry about it. That's part of the unknown, that when you think about the market, it increases the probability of both positive and negative outcomes. And so for us, we step away from all of that and get back to the fact that when you think about what ends bull markets, it's not valuation alone. We are expensive, no question about that. But what ends bull markets is an oncoming recession or so much exuberance, think 2000, that things get carried away. We don't see either of those at all at the present time.
What do you think lifts recession odds somewhere in 25? Because we went around the block on it this year too.
Yeah, well, I think the market's still pricing in 25% of recession probability. Our economists are still of the view that there's a labor unwind that we need to be wary of going into the first start of the year. I don't see it. I think we're in a no cycle circumstance. We're still migrating our way out of the post-pandemic time frame. To your earlier discussion, what's really happening here, recession or not, or recession risk or not, is that the underlying fundamentals for the S&P 500 are in really good shape, okay? It's really interesting. You go back to look at it, sales per employee has really been aggressively improving, even though headcount for the S&P 5 has been flattish, right? So all told, what we think we've got here is a really, really constructive fundamental tailwind for the bulk of the S&P, somewhat considering economic risk still out there.
No, I mean, Julian, you're not terming this obviously similar to 2000 or the late 90s, I guess, in terms of the level of valuation. But there've got to be parts of the market that you do find, I would assume, I don't want to put words in your mouth, somewhat scary when it comes to 50 times revenues, for example.
There are, and
they're talking about Palantir. They were talking about Palantir before that segment. So yeah, when they say 50 times revenue, they're talking about Palantir.
And there's no getting around that in the universe of traded stocks in the U.S. But again, when you think about it more broadly, and you think about the technological developments of the last several years, and you put it against the backdrop of a Fed that, the market has gotten used to the fact that actually there's perhaps going to be fewer cuts next year than expected, but they're still cutting. The liquidity backdrop, you will be scared of those stocks. But again, there are stocks whose fundamental stories will grow into some of those valuations, maybe not at 50 times revenue.
But Scott.
All right. So Evercore, again, saying, look, some stocks are a little expensive, but we think the Fed is going to have a strong macro backdrop to cut rates, and that's ultimately going to be bullish for earnings growth. Palantir now down 1.4%. Wow, Palantir 10 cents away back from 70. So it was at 68. Now it's down 1.4%, recovering a little bit right there. Rocket Lab still down 1.3. SoFi goes green again. Tesla still holding on to 400. NVIDIA 137. S&P at 606. Robinhood still up 2.3%. And Bitcoin making its way back to 100. Making its way back to 100. Google. Oh, where's Google? Where's Google? Are we past 192? Oh my, 193. Yeah, that's an all-time high, folks. That's an all-time high on the Googs. It also makes sense, right? Because Tesla was down for the majority of the year, and then towards the end of the year, boom, it ranks up. If we're in a bull market, then you would imagine the biggest names of that bull market are eventually going to have capital find them because they're too cheap. And Tesla eventually, at one point got too cheap with the catalyst. Google got too cheap. Now the quantum thing was like a good accelerant to get the market to realize, wait a second, Google's trading at XYZ earnings, like this new quantum stuff, like we should probably buy Google. But if you are a world-class company and you are trading cheap, the market eventually finds you. We saw this happen with Palantir as well, right? And the market definitely found Palantir. So it was kind of bound to happen. You could argue in a bull market, if it wasn't a bull market, sentiment could still really be bad. I mean, same thing for Apple, right? Apple was down 11% mid-year. And then finally the market was like, Apple intelligence is kind of bullish and we should give some money to Apple. Even though I think the valuation still is up there. Apple 25 cents away from 250. So we're ending out the year with the market allocating capital to companies they believe are very important and are undervalued. The question is, can these companies justify the earnings growth next year to maintain these valuations? I think that's the big question that everyone is thinking about. Abhi, thank you for the super chat. You got Solana at 226. What to do next? Are you saying your average is 226 on Solana? Where is Solana today? Solana was having a bad day yesterday. Solana was at like 207 or something. Solana right here is at 227. If your average is 226 and the Solana is 227, I mean, you got to ask yourself if you believe in Solana or if you don't. Right? Like that's what you got to ask yourself on that one. I like Solana. I think it's an incredible blockchain. I think it has one of the most the best applications in regards to decentralized finance. But if you buy Solana, you've got to understand that. Also, Solana was $9 a year and a half ago. Now it's at 227. It has run a lot. So if you're expecting it to go from 227 to 1,000, I mean, you know, the run has kind of happened. And now I don't know if it's going to do another 10x that easily, right? But I do like Solana's fundamental thesis. I just personally don't know if it's like the biggest buy at this current level. Bitcoin close to 100. Bitcoin 99,379 currently right now. Palantir, are we back to 70 on Palantir? Palantir 69.63, almost went back to 70 right now, down about 1.83%. Google right here at 193, new all-time highs of 3.6%. That means Google for the past week is up basically 9%, which is big. $2.37 trillion market cap. Apple right here at 249. Again, money found the companies that were undervalued, and in a bull market, they were allocating to these companies. And now these companies just have to keep showing growth. I mean, look at the Mag 7, dude. Meta all-time high, Google all-time high, Amazon all-time high, Nvidia, it's up a lot this year, not all-time high, but 137. Tesla right back to levels that it was at in 2021, just shy of those levels after having a tough 3 years. Apple 249 and then Microsoft 445. Market's coming back to those levels. Where's Grab? Are we green on Grab today? Are we green on Grab? Grab is green, 1.18%. Grab back to 549. Currently green right now. The inflation of Solana is crazy. There is a lot of unique dynamics in terms of Solana's supply. I just have a couple friends who actually build stuff on Solana, and they're building like real applications on Solana. Also, if you believe in meme coins, all of those are built on Solana, which is kind of why it went from $9 to $250, because meme coins exploded as well, right? And all of those are built on Solana as the blockchain. So if you kind of believe in that thesis, I guess that's another argument for Solana, but that is where you kind of have to think of where that bull case is. Netflix right here at 932. I think Netflix also got an upgrade. Let's try to find that in the morning. By the way, Elon was talking yesterday about if Bill Gates is still short Tesla, he's in a tough situation. I don't think anyone knows if he's short because they haven't disclosed it, but he went short a couple years ago, and I think he was winning for like a year and a half, but if he kept that short, he's now down a lot. Tesla shorts even last month were down over 6 billion. I imagine this month it's not any better. So if Bill Gates is still short, not the best for his net worth, even though, you know, he's still probably going to be fine, even if he takes a loss on this short. Any Netflix upgrade? Don't see it yet. I'll try to see the Netflix upgrade. I believe they got one today. And I think that's why Netflix is up right now. Netflix was almost $1,000 2 weeks ago as well, before Thanksgiving. And so Netflix getting some love right here. Are we still DCAing on Palantir right here? I mean, look, I think we need to see a lot more price action on Palantir before we understand if it's a DCA. I think this is not a dip, dude. I mean, I know it's going to happen already, and I'm going to have to repeat myself, but I just hope the majority of people that like can put 2 and 2 together understand that Palantir is expensive. I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out. And I also think that means that if something's expensive, it can have a pullback. So this is not a dip to me, dude. 82 that lasted for 2 seconds back to 69 is just not a dip. Now, if we get into the 50s, I think that's more of a dip, right? That's like, even though I still think 50 is expensive, I think that's a legit dip because you're actually seeing a retracement from the highs of 82. But $69.70 just doesn't seem like a dip to me. Bitcoin right here, 99,585. Wow, look at Google, 194. Google's running even faster. Google's running even faster, trying to make it to 195. Not bad. Not bad for Google. AMD, is AMD up right now? AMD again, Lisa Su made some headlines, CEO of the year yesterday. A lot of people didn't like it, but AMD right here at 128, up about 1% on the day. Look, I think Lisa Su is a world-class CEO. She did a great interview with Bloomberg yesterday. Amazing stuff. I just kind of think Alex Karp, Elon, Vlad, Jensen. I think a lot of these people, I mean, just their stocks have had. I just don't know how you measure CEO of the year. I think the most objective metric is stock price, right? Like that's one of the most objective metrics. What is the CEO's job is to advance the company forward. One of the ways to advance the company is to increase the value. Increasing the value means the stock has to go up. AMD stock is down this year. So, Time Magazine was like, well, innovation, AI, and even that, I'm like, well, what innovation in AI did AMD do this year? Because all I know is Blackwell is going crazy for Jensen. So it's like, I don't know how they came to the decision. I think she definitely deserves to be in that like top 10 list this year. I don't know if she deserved number 1. But having said that, Time Magazine gave me the idea that we're going to do an end of year stock awards special. I haven't even mentioned this to Chris, Matt, or Steve. I'm going to try to get a bunch of people on the stream. But either around New Year's Eve or getting close into New Year's, maybe on Christmas we do it. We're going to do a stock awards of the year, and I'm going to have a bunch of categories like CEOs of the year, best turnaround story of the year. By the way, if you have a category, put it in the chat because I'm looking for categories. And I think that'll be fun. So I want to have like 15 categories, and I want to have a bunch of people on the panel. And we're just going to go through our best pick, like best fintech of the year, best international story of the year, best defense contractor of the year. I want to have a lot of these names. Best Mag 7 of the year. I think there's so many different ones we can do, and it'll be fun. So that is what we're going to do probably around that Christmas time. Bitcoin back to 100K. Comeback of the year. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Comeback of the year. That'd be amazing. Bitcoin 99.5, trying to get back to 100. IPO of the year. There haven't been that many, but I think Reddit wins that award, to be honest. But yeah, there haven't been too many, but we can do IPO of the year. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun one. And it'll be some good analysis. Best meme coin. Yes. Probably whiff for that one. Worst amid joke of the year. Dude, to be honest, I was remembering last night that I patented this revolutionary term called hay in the needle stack, and I barely use it. And so I have to remind myself, even if the world didn't love it, it was a really cool term, and I should be using it more. I mean, a hay in a needle stack is harder to find. Like objectively, it's harder to find a hay in the needle stack than a needle in a haystack. And that's why, although it sounds stupid, it makes sense. So I think that's on the list on worst jokes of the year, but it's also one of the best jokes of the year because it makes sense. And I need to use that phrase more. I think I need to make that phrase a thing. What's the other one that I came up with this year? Outside of hay in the needle stack, it was or needle in the haystack. It was another one I came up with. If you guys remember, worst pronunciation. Yes, there was another one. It wasn't just hay in the needle stack. It was another one I came up with that was like a phrase, but I stopped using it because I have too many of them and I forgot about it. Robinhood right here, 38.23, up 2.3%. MicroStrategy is trying to make its way back to 400. Look at that, and that's because Bitcoin is trying to get back to 100K, 99,580. Currently right now. Oh, seat of my edge. There you go. Matthias is a real one. Seat of my edge. Yes. I think seat of my edge when you're super excited and then trying to find a hay in the needle stack when you discover something. Those need to be put in like a museum in terms of best phrases. The thing is, the reason for why is because it happened organically. Like I think it was a CPI report back in like March or something. I was like, oh my God, I'm on the seat of my edge. And then the chat was like, what did you say? I didn't even notice. I was like, did I say seat on my edge? Oh, I like it. I kind of like it. Seat on my edge. Yeah. That's better than edge of your seat. It shows how excited you are. So we gotta have a compilation list of that. All right, what else do we have going on? Let's get some analysis on inflation. So we got a former Fed governor on this CPI data. Let's what he has to say and kind of get his thoughts on what he's expecting on CPI as well.
CPI coming in just as expected. The core reading up 3.3% on a year-over-year basis. Joining us right now is former Fed Governor Rick Mishkin. He's now a professor at Columbia University. Rick, it's great to see you. So I'll ask you, first of all, just the basic question. You look at this number, you put yourself in Jay Powell's brain / the rest of the Fed, and you think to yourself what?
So I think there's going to be really interesting discussion at the upcoming FOMC meeting. These numbers are coming in as people expected, but they're not great numbers. And you see a stalling in this path down to 2%. It is true that from a point of view of the real interest rate, which is the interest rates adjusted for inflation, which is what really does affect the economy, there's some restrictive policy here. However, we're in a situation where there's other elements of the financial markets that are very buoyant, particularly the stock market. So there's really a situation here where the Fed may not really be restrictive enough given the numbers. So they sort of don't want to surprise people, so that it's likely they're going to cut at this meeting. But on the other hand, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion going on about whether, in fact, that the numbers are not coming in as good as they'd like them to. They don't want to get stalled at 3% and not be on a path to the 2% target. And so the likelihood of them actually having to pause in terms of cutting rate is now getting a lot higher.
Again, I still think they're going to cut in December. I think he's talking more so 2025. Rates are at 95, or probabilities are at 95%, but 2025 is a different story. By the way, we just got a headline. Supreme Court has dismissed the case involving securities fraud lawsuit brought by shareholders against NVIDIA. I forgot that NVIDIA was fighting this like securities fraud lawsuit. The Supreme Court has dismissed it. NVIDIA is up 1% right now.
So, I don't know if you were listening to the last conversation we're having, but one of I think the big questions is whether the Federal Reserve should, on a prospective basis, be making any kind of decisions ahead of what may actually happen with Trump, the Trump administration, and this Congress, which is to say, if you start to believe the tariffs are coming, if you start to believe the DOGE is coming, if you believe in any of those, if you believe any of those things are going to happen the way they've been described, are you supposed to get ahead of them, or are you supposed to wait to see whether they happen, how they happen, and then get the reaction to them? But by the time you get the reaction to them, are you already behind?
So I think the one thing that is sure about this next administration is the unpredictability. I mean, this is one of Trump's hallmark aspects, which is, he says he's going to do one thing, the other things happen. He flips on a dime. This is not Trump is not somebody who operates on deep principles. He's very transactive, and so we just don't know. And there's also an issue that many of these things that Trump has talked about could be a one-shot deal where it comes in but will affect the price level, but not necessarily inflation over a longer horizon. So I think the Fed basically is got to wait, and there's no reason not to wait right now on this. And certainly they don't want to act or say that they're reacting to potential policies. That's not the way the Fed really wants to operate, because it gets them into the whole political debate about whether they're helping the administration, they're hurting them, or whatever.
But you ultimately believe.
So again, I think the Fed is still going to cut regardless in December, even if they're a little worried that Trump's policies might be inflationary. But the question is just going to be if they continue to cut in 2025. I think that's what everyone's concerned about. The market is up right now because they don't think the 2024 cut is in jeopardy. But after that cut, it's going to be a question of if 2025 is as good as we think it can be. And that dot plot by the Fed is going to determine that. Palantir right here down 2.6%. AMD's up a little bit. Grab up 1%. Google 194.7. We hit 195, folks, on Google. That's a pretty remarkable turnaround, dude. 165 to 195, basically in a week and a half on Google. Pretty incredible. NVIDIA 136. Celsius at $30. That's up 1% right here. Square's up 2.4%. Netflix up 2.4% as well. MicroStrategy above 400. Real quick on Netflix. So here's the upgrade. Bank of America gave them $1,000 share price from 850, or actually this is from JP Morgan. So Netflix shares are up 33% since 3Q earnings, outperforming the S&P 500. We're raising our fourth quarter and 2025 net additions supported by strong content, healthy organic growth, and ramping ad tier contributions. Essentially saying, hey, we think there's going to be more subscribers. We think there's going to be more ad growth as a result. We think Netflix can go higher. Netflix, one of the only companies that's proven streaming is a legit business model and it could like be profitable, even though I do think Netflix is kind of expensive right here at $400 billion. But Netflix getting the momentum from the market in terms of their overall subscription growth and advertising growth. Bitcoin trying to get to 100 again, 99.9. We are trying to see 100 back on Bitcoin. We are trying to see it back on Bitcoin. Google at 194, Apple at 249. I don't think Apple hit 250 yet. A little bit away from 250, 6 cents away. AMD at 127. Bitcoin buyers are coming in. Where's Hood? Hood at 38.21. MSTR up 6% right here, 400 on MSTR. That's good. UNH, United Healthcare, obviously not having the best month right here, down about 5.26% on the day. Google right here at 193. Archer's down 5% on the day. Amazon 230, new all-time high for Amazon. Mag 7. You know, it really feels like a lot of people are flocking to safety. And the problem with the small cap thesis, small caps slightly up today, 237, is that how many people in 2025 are going to rather invest in the Russell versus like Amazon? I don't know, dude. I mean, we would have to see some pretty crappy earnings growth from Amazon to get that much money to go to the Russell. Now, granted, we could see really good earnings growth, but Amazon is so fully valued that people like have to diversify because they're just not getting any added growth from Amazon, Google, Meta, etc. But I don't know if that's the case. I think more money will be excited to invest in those companies in 2025. So the small cap thesis really is built on this idea of how much do people not want to put their money into the NASDAQ, essentially. And I think we're going to find out over the next couple months what people think about that. ARK as well. Yeah, ARK's made a little recovery towards the end of the year. ARK right here, 6130, ARK up 1.17%. Where's Coinbase today? Coinbase, I think, is up like 8%. Coinbase is up 5%, 317 on Coinbase. Grab at 546, Apple 249. Apple literally 10 cents away. Wow, it got to 249.99. Let me check the resistance at 250 on Apple. Who owns Apple stock? Put it in the chat. How many of you own Apple stock and like legit have it as a position in your portfolio? 250 resistance on Apple is 292,000 shares. So decent amount of shares sitting at 250. Waiting to be gobbled up for Apple. Oh, Bitcoin's 100. We got back to 100. There we go. Back to 100 on Bitcoin. And now we're down below 100. We've hit 100 like 5 times in the past week. So back to 100 on Bitcoin. Not bad. Dexter owns it. DL owns it. Squirrel McBeef. I love that name. Owns it at 180. Neil owns it. There's a decent amount of you that own Apple. There's a decent amount of you that actually own some Apple right here. Loop says, I've owned Apple, 300 Apple shares at 95 average. Yeah, I mean, look, why would you sell Apple, right? Now, maybe you don't buy Apple at 249, but I mean, like, it's Apple, right? There's not really the best reason in the world to sell it. It is the most valuable company in the world. The buybacks every month are only getting better and better. And people really don't care about valuation for Apple. They care about this company just being around. And any level of growth will get passive flows back into Apple. So Apple right here at 249. I mean, Dan Ives was right about this. He said 250 end of the year. I mean, we're basically there, right? So you got Dan Ives that has been correct on this one as well. I mean, Dan Ives is really, dude, he got Palantir right this year. He got Tesla right this year. He got Apple right this year. What else was he? He was bullish on NVIDIA this year. I know a lot of people like to hate on him, but if you listen to Dan Ives this year, you made some money. And if you listen to some of these other analysts that probably don't respect Dan Ives, you know, they haven't really had a thesis. And look, you know, I know people don't like Dan Ives because it's too simple sometimes with his analysis, but sometimes you know, keep it simple, stupid, right? You're just like, yeah, tech is bullish, and and so we're long tech. Like, it's the simplest thesis all year. Wasn't that complicated, and it's worked out. Dan Ives did tweet today, this morning. He said Christmas came early for the tech world as the con overhang. Oh, he's talking about LenaCon is removed from the tech world at a key time in the AI arms race in which we expect the strong to get stronger as the Mac 7 gets the engine started upon M&A. We expect the new FTC chair, Ferguson, to be pro-innovation. Did Trump announce the new FTC chair? I didn't even know that. Was that today they announced it? Oh, yeah, 16 hours ago. Look at this. Trump picks Andrew Ferguson to lead the Federal Trade Commission. Does anyone know who Andrew Ferguson is? I have no idea who that guy is. Let's see. Let's try to find out who this guy is. Andrew Ferguson, FTC. He is pro-America. There's not too many interviews of this guy. Yeah, I guess we'll get some coverage on that soon. But Andrew Ferguson, this is the guy. All right, Lena Khan's out, folks. She's out of a job. Lena Khan is out of a job. That you said his name like you knew him. Yeah, I did not know this guy. Now, granted, Lena Khan has her nice Ivy League education from Yale, so I'm sure she'll be fine getting a job somewhere else. But she will not be part of this Trump administration. In Bitcoin right here, 100,000. Nvidia 137. And you got Celsius 3074, Grab 546, Google 194.8. By the way, BlackRock, IBIT, they bought another 3,000 Bitcoin yesterday. BlackRock's ETF, which is up 3% right now, has 50 billion in assets. 50 billion. It is the fastest growing ETF of all time. 50 billion. The overall Bitcoin ETFs have in total, if my math is correct, looking at around 60 billion, maybe 65 billion in total. It is pretty damn incredible. Pretty damn incredible the amount that these guys have been able to get in terms of just, people that want to get exposure to Bitcoin. So BlackRock, this ETF as well, IBIT is up like 100% year to date, 56.92 currently, as the ETFs continue to swallow up more and more Bitcoin. Marathon's up 7%. Yeah, that makes sense. Marathon right here, 24.19, up 6% on the day. Apple still not breaking over 250 yet. MicroStrategy also doing very well, up 5.56%. And then NVIDIA 190, 137. Bitcoin just below 100K, but it is above 99. AMD is down. AMD is down. Who's buying AMD? Put in the chat. Who's buying AMD? Who's buying AMD? I'm curious. I know Jeremy made a video on AMD, and I know a lot of people follow Jeremy, and so that's what's got a lot of people excited about AMD. So I'm curious who's buying. I didn't watch his video yet, but I do know it's more a fundamental thing. Jeremy's a long-term guy. He doesn't really do trades, so he is believing in a long-term vision for AMD. So if you're buying AMD, then I'm assuming you're buying it, at least for the next couple of years. Sachin, friend of the chat, he bought, I think, 1,000 shares of AMD the other day. So Sachin's in this name. Bank of Canada cut rates. Did they? Did they cut rates today? Again? Did they cut rates? Yeah, 50 bips, baby. Bank of Canada cut rates. There you go. Not bad. So again, this is why the Fed is going to cut. Like Trudeau can't just be cutting rates without J-Powell cutting rates. We're going to get a cut this year. 2025 is going to be the question of how many cuts do we get. Okay, a decent amount of you saying AMD. Decent amount of you saying AMD. Decent amount of you actually going into it. Bank of Canada cut its interest rate by 50 bips for the second consecutive decision in its December meeting, as expected by markets. 175 bips of cumulative rate cuts from the cycle's peak of 5%. Rhetoric from policymakers from the central bank suggested that there will not be any more aggressive rate cuts next year, and officials dropped the statement that borrowing costs are due to be lowered should their base case hold. So basically the bank is saying, hey, you're not going to get these big cuts next year, but we're going to give it to you this year. And if inflation really falls off a cliff, maybe they'll give it next year. But as of now, it's kind of ending out the year with a cut, but maybe not going into 2025 with a ton of cuts. We don't know why SMCI is down today. I was not able to find any news at all, but it is down 7% right here. Palantir is still down on the day, 2.46. Google 193, holding that 190 level. Netflix 934. Rocket Lab's down. Uber is just getting shellacked. I feel like Uber, if there was any dip to buy, Uber gets interesting. I'm not buying it because I think the sentiment is what sucks around Uber, but it definitely does not deserve to be down from 87 to 62 just on the Tesla headline. But it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about that. It matters what the market thinks. And the market is saying, we don't care about Uber's future growth. And again, the reason I'm saying this is because just logically thinking, Tesla's launching FSD ride hailing in Texas and California next year. And we don't even know how big that could be next year. So if you assume at least in 2025, that's not taking that much market share from Uber and it's not taking any of their international market share, then why are Uber's numbers going to be bad next year? They're not. They're going to be pretty good. But the perception of growth over the next 5 years has been decimated by the market's excitement with robotaxi. And that's why Uber is getting hit. And so if you take a chance on Uber, you're really taking a chance on the idea that sentiment shifts, which again, it's not the worst thing. That's what happened with SMCI at 17 and Google at 165. But that would be the reason to buy Uber if you buy Uber versus just like on the fundamentals, because the fundamentals are good in the context of Uber. Also, Google and Waymo having success, that could also be a reason why, Uber is not doing as well. Okay, let's get some updates on the Google quantum computing stuff. Let's get some analysis there and see why the market might be excited for this as well.
Far has been ultimately error correction. Can you just talk us through what you have just achieved?
Yeah, the biggest news for today is that we developed a new, very high quality quantum chip. And this enabled two breakthrough computations. And one is an error correction, where we showed for the first time that as we use more qubits, the error rate comes down, and it comes down exponentially. The second important achievement, breakthrough achievement, is that we did a benchmark computation, took just 5 minutes on our new chip that would take the top supercomputer 10 septillion years to perform. So 10 septillion, audience may not know, that's a 1 with 25 zeros. So it's a mind-bogglingly long time.
And it took 5 minutes. What I want to understand is what this benchmark test is, benchmark random circuit sampling. What does this prove?
Yeah, so this benchmark problem, we often say, is not a problem that people on Main Street have yet, but it's a suitable benchmark to compare different quantum processors to each other, or to compare quantum processors, quantum chips, against classical computers.
What's so mind-boggling about quantum more generally is that we have been talking about it for decades, but it always feels another 5, another 10 years off. Is it different this time, Hartmut?
Yeah, quantum computing is definitely not that field. There is steady progress. And our new chip that we just released, Willow, will form the basis to start doing useful computations that will enable or solve problems that humankind has.
Let's talk about those problems then. Everyone immediately goes to healthcare, drug discovery. Is that the most obvious place with which this sort of computing is going to be helpful?
Yeah, so the well understood killer application of quantum computers is to model systems where quantum effects are important. And that is more often the case than you may think. For example, if you want to understand how drugs, pharmaceuticals bind to cells, or if you want to design a nuclear fusion reactor, or something as mundane as improving the batteries for an electric car, all these engineering challenges involve quantum problems. And their quantum processors are just a tool of choice to solve those problems.
Put it in the perspective of generative AI, the hype that our audience that we have had over the past couple of years. What does quantum mean for that? Is it superior even in its effects versus generative AI? And does it suffer the same issues in terms of energy and infrastructure?
I wouldn't compare it in those terms. AI as well as quantum computing will be the most transformative technologies of our time. But there's a lot of cross-fertilization between AI and quantum computing. So AI can help work for quantum chips to work better, and vice versa. There are many key computational tasks in AI where a quantum chip will just be the tool of choice to handle those.
Well, that's why the market's excited. I mean, first of all, that guy's outfit was great, but his quantum computing soliloquy in terms of its impact on AI, drug discovery, all these different manifestations of training models. Yeah, I think the market's giving Google the pump, not only because they're like innovating again, or they believe they're innovating again, but they think this has an impact on AI. And if this gives them a competitive advantage against Amazon or OpenAI, et cetera, there you go. That could justify Google getting some momentum. It makes a lot of sense. Bitcoin back above 100,627. Absolutely incredible for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin getting some momentum. He parties at the disco. He definitely looks like, I think someone said he came back from a rave. He looks like he came back from a rave and then did that interview. That was cool. That was pretty cool. Amit, would you ever take a job at CNBC or Bloomberg? No. The answer is no. I've said this before, but dude, it's just more fun doing it independent. Getting to be with you guys every day, actually read the chat, listen to you guys, talk to you guys. Like, this is way more fun than being in front of a TV and a teleprompter. Like, I just can never imagine doing that, dude. Like, that is, I guess, quote unquote, more respected, but that's not fun. Like, that's not cool, bro. That's not like, you can't go live and how could I say the jokes that I want to say on live TV, dude? They fire me in like 2 minutes. So, A, I'm not doing it because I need my freedom to say the jokes. B, I love being independent. C, I get to see you guys every morning. Also, you got to remember, when you work at those big media companies, they have advertisers, a lot of advertisers. And most of those advertisers are pharmaceutical companies. If you ever watched any business network, those are the companies that are pumping ads in between the shows. So, you're very compromised, I would say, to an extent, just in terms of the corporate agenda. Why do you think all those guys hate Tesla? Because a lot of car companies advertise on CNBC, right? So it's like you want to maintain your independence. And that's why it's more fun kind of doing it your own way. MicroStrategy right here at 401, up 6.3%. Marathon at 24.42. Let's get some coverage on Andrew Ferguson, new FTC chair. This might be another reason Google's going up, because the FTC might not make them break up everything in the company.
Some of the reasons right there, that Alphabet up over 4%, perhaps GM getting out of the robo-taxi business. You can see Meta shares. I've got NVIDIA up 1.8% and Tesla also up 2%. So interesting to note. Interesting to note in part as well because President-elect Trump names his pick to replace Lina Khan as FTC chair. And he may not be a huge fan of mega cap tech as well. Eamon Javers joins us now. He's got more on that choice. Eamon.
Yeah, David, I think it's very fair to say that Donald Trump's selection for chairman of the Federal Trade Commission will be a sharp departure from the current chair, Lina Khan. Now, this new person is promising to repeal regulations and stop what he calls a war on mergers. Andrew Ferguson is a current Republican member of the commission, which means there won't have to be a confirmation process on Capitol Hill before he can assume the job in January. In his announcement, President-elect Trump said Ferguson would be the most America First and pro-innovation FTC chair in our country's history. Now, Ferguson is seen as a sharp critic of big tech companies such as Google and Amazon. In a pitch deck obtained by the news organization Punchbowl, he promised to go after, quote-unquote, collusion on diversity and equity and environmental initiatives. He also promised to fight back against the trans agenda, as he said. One significant point of divergence with the current administration at the FTC, Ferguson wrote a 45-page dissent against the FTC's effort to ban anti-compete agreements between companies and their employees earlier this year. Ferguson.
Yeah, big tech's back, folks. Big tech is back. If you're invested in big tech, this guy has your back. I mean, come on, bro. This guy, he is going to be full on M&A. If Facebook wants to buy a company, they don't have to worry about it. It looks like big tech is back.
And said companies should have the right to enter into such agreements, while the Khan FTC said those agreements harm workers. A federal judge later struck down the measure, and that whole debate is sort of in limbo right now legally. Now, separately, Trump announced antitrust attorney Mark Meador to be a commissioner on the FTC. Meador is also seen as someone who's aggressive on big tech such as Google and Amazon. And earlier this year, he co-authored a brief in support of the Biden Department of Justice and their position on banning TikTok. So a lot of scrutiny coming for big tech. I think we can say for sure, guys. Back over to you.
Yeah, and I also would reference our interview with incoming FCC chair Brendan Carr last week. I mean, there does seem to be a lot of focus, Eamon, on the sort of this free speech argument and big tech perhaps preventing it from taking place, as opposed to then everybody else who seems to be perhaps it's going to be more laissez-faire when it comes to allowing mergers.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think you have to sort of separate out M&A, entirely, and not look at this as a green light for all M&A, but look at it as a green light for M&A, maybe in certain sectors. Energy in particular might be one where you'd say, hey, there might be some M&A activity inbound here. But if you're big tech, if you're media, if you're any company caught in the kind of culture wars, when you saw what his statement there was about the trans agenda, DEI, environmentalism, all those things, that might attract more scrutiny from this Trump FTC in the future as well.
So I'm not sure what the whole trans agenda DEI stuff has to do with this. I imagine, I'm just spitballing here, that Lena Khan potentially made it a initiative to punish companies that were not oriented around those values of trans rights and DEI. Again, I'm just spitballing. I have no idea why that matters in the context of the FTC, but his personal bias against that stuff might have some implications in terms of how he operates as chair of the FTC. Not fully sure, but what I really got away from that is that he likes big tech. He doesn't like this whole idea that, you know, certain companies should not be able to have non-competes and all this stuff. Basically, he's on the side of big tech companies innovating. And again, I think that's not just a blanket kind of like, all right, let's just let big tech dominate. It's more so, and Trump has said this many times, we need to be leading in AI. China's behind, and Karp has said this many times, but they're not going to be behind for long, especially if they just they just unleash the amount of innovation without a ton of regulation. So it's not that we don't need any regulations, but we need to not stop Google from building a quantum computer, for example, in order for things to go well. And I think that might be the argument right there for why big tech will benefit under him as FTC chair. This is what Trump said yesterday. Any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including but in no way limited to all environmental approvals. Get ready to rock. So you also got Trump basically harping down on this point that if you are putting money into the United States of America over the next few years to the tune of $1 billion, we are going to make sure that regulations do not step in your way. And that's why you got markets also saying, all right, we're back to pro-growth, where we are back to real pro-growth. And it doesn't look like that's stopping in this administration. Palantir back above 70. The strength of Palantir, just incredible, folks. 68.07 apparently was the dip today to some people. Back to 70 on Palantir. Grab is down about 37 bips. Google right here, 193, still holding on. Reddit's up 6%. Square's up 4%. Netflix up 3%. Costco up 1.25%. It's 1030. Not really seeing a 1030 slam yet. Bitcoin above 100,000. Oracle's up. IGV is up. Amazon's up. Amazon now, again, all-time highs at 230.4. Kava's up after going down this week. Broadcom's up 4.47%. Is Apple at 250? Apple at 249.41 currently right now. Where's Tesla? Are we at 410 on Tesla? Oh, there we go. 410. All right. Now it's time to try to get through 414 and get back to all-time highs potentially. We broke 412, so now we got to see if it happens. And then what is a 1030 slam? So this 1030 slam is a conspiracy theory that a lot of people have, that at 1030, the algorithms, particularly from Jane Street and some of these funds and market makers, start to shake out the weak hands. It has no basis in like reality other than the fact that at 1030 every day for like the past 5 months, the market goes down. And like, I don't know, maybe that changes in 2025, but we've seen it happen too many times every single day. So that's why we agree that there is some 1030 slam thing. Tesla 410, again, Tesla's still green right here. 414 is that number we are looking at. 414 is the number we are looking at for Tesla. Amit, what do you think of AMD? I haven't done enough research on it. Not buying it here. I honestly, I'd rather buy NVIDIA over AMD. I think I could like sleep better at night knowing what I'm buying with NVIDIA. I just don't know, dude. If NVIDIA's chips are better than AMD, I don't know why people would want AMD over NVIDIA, or why if NVIDIA goes down, AMD is going to go down. I don't see short NVIDIA, long AMD as the trade, which is what I think a lot of people are thinking. Oh, AMD is up too much, NVIDIA is down too much. I go long in AMD. I don't know if that logic is correct here. I think if you go long AMD, you believe in a future where chips are like plentiful and the semis are all doing well, etc. But if I believe in that future, I just buy NVIDIA. Like they're the undisputed leader. I don't know why I would go for the second best. Now, granted, I get it if you think AMD is sold off too much, but I don't really know what the fundamental thesis is on AMD compared to NVIDIA's innovations. Like I don't know what AMD does better than NVIDIA, and if they do stuff that's better, is it going to result in more growth than NVIDIA? And I don't think that's going to happen. So that's why I'd rather buy NVIDIA. But I don't hate buying AMD at 127. I mean, obviously it's down a lot from February. So I think stepping in here, maybe it's not an exact bottom, but I definitely think we're closer to the bottom than not on AMD. Tesla 410. Again, we're trying to break through to that 414 level on Tessie. Do you know anything about Oklo? I like Oklo. I don't have a position. Nuclear energy is definitely going to be in demand. We're seeing a ton of headlines every day. It's down. Wow, Oklo at 18. Where was it at? It was at 26, so we got it down. This is a bit of a stock that's trading on nothing but narrative, so you have to remember that. But if you believe in nuclear, then that's the reason to go long Oklo. But you're not buying earnings or revenue or anything. You're just hoping, nuclear takes off. All right, 411 on Tesla. 411. 414 is what the street is looking for, or what investors are looking for. Google released a new LLM update, Gemini 2.0, okay? Gemini 2.0. That is out. Oh, yeah, here we go. Sundar just tweeted 4 minutes ago. Sundar not stopping with the updates. He's capitalizing on this, folks. We're kicking off the start of our Gemini 2.0 era with Gemini 2.0 Flash, which outperforms 1.5 Pro on key benchmarks at 2x the speed. Developers can try an experimental version in AI Studio and Vertex AI. It is also available to try in Gemini app on the web today, mobile coming soon. This is good. This is really good. Google came out with quantum computing. They shocked kind of the market in terms of their AI innovation or just innovation in general. Now they're coming up with a new version of Gemini. Again, the more I think about it, bro, I don't know what the moat is of OpenAI. And I would love for anyone in the chat who has an idea of what their moat could be. If Llama's having new models, if Gemini's having new models with Google, if Anthropic's having new models, if Elon is having new models, and they're all catching up really fast to GPT. Like, it's not like there's that massive of a gap between GPT's answers versus Grok's answers. I mean, there is a gap, but it's not insane. Why is OpenAI worth 150 billion? They're not profitable, and they don't have any advertising revenue. They have 300 million weekly active users, which is good, but not all of them are paying $20 a month. It's not easy to get people to pay $20 a month for something that is, replicatable in other areas. I don't know, dude. What's the moat? Realistically, what is the moat? Like I've been thinking about it for the past, a couple months ago, I was like, okay, well, maybe they can achieve AGI sooner than everybody. Well, now it's like everyone's going to achieve AGI at the rate at which this is going. Why would Google do it faster than Meta? Why would OpenAI do it faster than Google? And by the way, it's kind of, I don't want to say bearish Microsoft, but Microsoft spent $13 billion owning half of OpenAI. There is an argument that they just buy them out and they just incorporate GPT into their company, and then then it's just Microsoft versus Google versus Amazon versus even Satya Nadella has said they compete with OpenAI in certain areas, which is so weird because they paid so much to get 50% of it. You paid 50% to get a commodity, then you're competing with that commodity, and then you got Sam Altman, kind of isolating everyone originally who founded the company because he's the only one left. It's a really weird situation, and I just don't know what the investors who invested in them know that the public doesn't know for why they could justify 157 billion. Just not sure. Matai says, I canceled my ChatGPT premium when they released the $200 a month tier. So they seemingly nerfed the models for the $20 tier. Oh, wow. Really? I'm still on the $20 tier. I didn't know that. I guess you're a power user if you thought they nuked the models for $20 to incentivize people. See, that's not good, bro. Look, at the end of the day, as much as people hate Google ads or like advertising in general, advertising is what makes the internet free. Without digital ads, like there would be no internet because no one's paying $10 a month for this and $5 a month. Like, no, like especially in the developing parts of the world, like people don't have disposable income to pay Facebook $10 a month or even $3 a month. Advertising is the way that it happens. So if OpenAI thinks people are really going to pay $200 a month, I don't know, bro. I don't see that. That's a lot of money. Now, again, there were some people that happily pay it, but the far majority of people, I don't know if they're going to pay it. I don't know. Gerald Quartz, thank you for the $5 super chat. Man, I got my 12-year-old son watching you every day, and he's always messing around with me saying, you must admit that Amit is always right. He likes you. I appreciate you, Gerald. That's awesome. Every time someone says this, I have to remember that I seriously need to refrain from using profanity. But I appreciate it. Shout out to your 12-year-old son watching every day. Hopefully you enjoy. And if you're watching at 12 years old, man, you're going to be a rock star by 18. And you're probably going to be well ahead of most people in life with investing. So shout out to you, Gerald. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you for being here as well. Amit, you are discounting OpenAI Sora. I don't think I am. I think Sora is going to be commoditized, dude. I think Sora, you don't think Google's working on AI videos? You don't think Adobe's working on this? You don't think Meta's working on this? Like, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want everyone to kind of grasp with this, because I've recently grasped this in the past month. All of the data that these companies are training their models on is the same. OpenAI does not have proprietary data. They don't have any exclusive partnerships or relationships. And if they do, it's really, not that big of a deal. Google will get some exclusive partnerships with other competing media companies. None of these companies have proprietary data. None of them, outside of Twitter, which has Grok. But then again, OpenAI admitted they stole all of YouTube's data. So it's not like I wouldn't expect GPT to steal Twitter's data, right? So the point is, all of them are training off the same stuff, which means it's just a matter of time when the models all get compounded enough where the data and the inferencing is the same. And then it's just a question of who executes faster. And all these companies are fantastic at executing, right? They're like very, very large companies, multi-$100 billion companies, $1 trillion companies. They're going to execute eventually. And so Google's going to come out with something that looks like Sora. So then what's the moat? What's the moat, right? Like, really, what is the moat? It's just hard. And we know Grok and XAI are working on video. Yeah, I showed you guys XAI's image generation the other day. It's fantastic. Let's do a live demo right now. Let's do a live demo. So let's go to Grok and let's do a demo. So go to Grok. I'm going to say, please make me an image of someone jumping on the moon with a American flag. Let's see what we get. Let's see what we get here. And we'll do the same thing for GPT. Again, it's just getting a lot better. And I think a lot of this stuff ultimately will be commoditized. I'm going to ask GPT right here and let it load. And let's see what it says as well. All right, it's loading on Grok. Dude, I can't believe we're living in this lifetime, bro. I can't believe we're living in this lifetime where I could type that and this is what we get. Like, that's insanity, bro. It's freaking crazy. Like, we are alive during this time, bro. We are alive during this time. Here's GPT. Now, I would say GPT is definitely a little bit more exciting, right? You got more colors in there, all that stuff. But the point is, it's not like GPT is going to have a monopoly on this picture versus this picture. All of them are going to get better and better and better. Yeah, it's not jumping. Correct. The Grok one is not jumping. The GPT, so the GPT one's a little bit better there from the jump. But the point is, it's all getting better. And if it's all getting better, I don't know how one of them achieves more priority over the other one. And some of you guys are saying you like the Grok one. Some of you guys are saying you like the GPT one. The point is, they're all going to compound over time. And if that's the case, I just don't get why the hell SoftBank is investing $2 billion into OpenAI. Like, what do they see in this thing that's better? And quite frankly, I know we don't, love Palantir's valuation here. It's expensive, but I understand why the market's giving Palantir 160. If OpenAI gets 150 on doing basically nothing other than what all the other guys are doing. Again, OpenAI, great company, but they are being commoditized. I don't see any other company creating an ontological workflow around implementing AI inside of an enterprise that actually creates real value, not just like $20 a month from a consumer. So you could kind of understand why the market is giving Palantir, which could be more of a monopoly than OpenAI, a valuation that's as high as OpenAI's as well. And I think that's kind of what we're going to look at over the next decade in regards to the LLM wars that we see. Josh, thanks for the super chat. He says, please make me an image of Steve Fiorillo kicking Amit's ass. That's hilarious. That would be a funny image, dude. We're gonna see Steve as the buff Clark Kent. That's what Grok would come up with. But what about OpenAI's partnership with Anduril? It's not just about LMs. No, OpenAI's partnership with any of these companies are just like different ways that their technology works with other companies. That's it. It's not like they have some magnificent proprietary, oh my goodness, like Anduril is using OpenAI. Anduril's probably using Anthropic. They're using a ton of stuff. This is what I think Palantir figured out. Palantir is not saying we're only going to partner with like Google or OpenAI. Palantir, this whole concept of AIP is making all the LLMs come together and trying to dissect and derive the best possible results and then actions, which is this whole agentic stuff, to provide value to a business. It doesn't matter if GPT gives you a better result than Google. It matters, can Palantir take both of those results, synthesize them to get the best course of action for the desired result, and then derive business value, which would increase productivity. So I really think the LLM thing is becoming not exciting anymore. And it's about the use cases of it. And I think all of them are going to advance over time as well. Tesla right here at 409, MicroStrategy at 395. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin just above 100,000 at 100,000, 325 pounds. You're still above 70 bucks. Marathon 2378. Where is Hoodie? Hoodie's at 3813, up 2% on the day. Tesla 409, Nvidia 136, AMD still slightly down. Microsoft 449, Palantir 70, and MSTR at 396 currently right now. The great thing is that Palantir is agnostic, meaning it can cover anything almost. Yeah, I agree. And that's what we saw with the price, not with the price, with the press release today. With the Warp Speed manufacturing OS being implemented into so many different companies. It's agnostic to who they work with. They just want to deliver value and results and operationalize these LLMs, whether it's for Panasonic or Tampa General or Anduril or whoever it may be. Or BP, whatever it is. That is what I think we need to focus on more than anything. The 1030 dump has happened. I mean, we saw a little bit of a dump, but nothing crazy. I don't think this is a crazy dump. Where's the indices? S&P. I mean, dude, the S&P is up almost 1% right here. Maybe we got some individual names dumping, but nothing too crazy. Qs, look at that. Qs 528. I mean, that makes sense. Google and Tesla all-time highs. So you got, look at the NASDAQ, dude. The NASDAQ went to 420 this year. Do you guys remember this? August 5th? 505 all the way down to 420. Now we're back at 528. Pretty incredible performance by the NASDAQ, dude. Just incredible. And we are now at all-time highs on the Qs. And we're going to get new Qs on Friday. New Qs on Friday. Matthias says August 5th was a gift. That is correct. August 5th was wild, bro. That was such a wild day, but it was a gift. It ended up being a gift. It ended up being one of the better days to buy in the market. And look, I think 2025 will have some of those as well. I don't know how it'll happen. I do. Okay, let's do this question. So put a 1 in the chat. Think we will get a 15% correction. So S&P back to like 550, 540 in the first 6 months of 2025. Put a 2 if you think it's not. 1 in the chat if you think a 15% correction, so S&P back to the 540s in the first 6 months of 2025. 2 if you don't think so. I kind of think, yeah, bro. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do feel like we were going to get some weakness in 2025 in the beginning. Now, Tom Lee thinks the opposite. He thinks the beginning is going to be great. The back half is going to be bad, which would still be good, even if we go down from like 7,000 to 6,600, for example. But I think a lot of people think we're due for some level of a correction. I see more 1s than 2s, but we do have some 2s in here. And the reason I would say there's a good shot we don't have it as well is because earnings growth has been good. And I don't think it's going away. I don't think earnings growth in Q1 is going to be that bad for NVIDIA, Amazon. And if it's not, look, dude, if people keep their jobs and earnings growth is good, this market's going higher. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Maybe it doesn't go that much higher, but we're going to go higher. We're not going to have a crazy pullback unless we have some black swan event or whatever. But it's contingent on no recession and earnings growth. And if those two stay steady, it's going to be hard to see it necessarily having a dramatic decline. Josh said MMA fight, Amit versus Steven. Who you got? Dude, Steven's going to kick my ass. There's no way. There's no way I'm taking Steven, bro. Steven's going to beat me up if that happens. He is going to beat me up. Is Tesla at 412? Are we at 412 on Tessie? Tessie, Robin at 3810, Palantir 7020. Yeah, Tesla 412. Again, we got like about 100,000 shares waiting at 414, but there is a shot we can get there. Amit, would you buy Palantir at 70? No. I think the real dip on Palantir is 50. If we get there, I wouldn't be buying right now at 70. But institutions are buying, and that's why the price is holding up. Earnings growth was good this year on bad comps, though. Next year will be harder. Yeah, I mean, look, that's the problem with next year. Next year's going to be really hard. That's why I'm saying there's a big if on if earnings growth can maintain that momentum. But it's funny because all the analysts are coming out and they're saying even if earnings growth is not that good, it's going to be decent. And that's what can justify the market momentum. Some would say, oh, that's too optimistic. But then again, NVIDIA, we know is going to do 40 billion next quarter, right? Like even though they're guiding for 37 billion. We know Google's not getting rid of their market share because of ChatGPT. Like we know that hasn't happened for 2 years. It's probably not happening next quarter. We know Meta is going to keep executing. We know Meta has 600 million monthly active users. Like we know M&A is coming back. We know IPOs are coming back. We know retail's been trading, which is good for Robinhood. We know Palantir's having accelerating growth. Maybe doesn't justify 160 billion, but we definitely know they're not going to de-accelerate, which means then the market just has to figure out, are they willing to still pay the premium for their growth next quarter? And we know there's a really good environment for Bitcoin. So if we know all these things are happening, then it's just a question of if they end up happening in the way that people think they could happen in regards to earnings growth and a good macro environment. And if that's the case, maybe the market just doesn't need to necessarily go down. S&P right here, 606.97, up about 70 bips on the day as well. Jeffrey Jones, thank you for the $2 super chat. Do you think people will wait until January 2nd to take profits to defer tax the next year, resulting in a drop at the beginning of 2025? I am personally doing that. So yes, I think people will do that. I don't know if that's going to create a massive drop because I do think that if we get 3 or 4% down in the beginning of the year, there's going to be enough excitement to buy that dip. I don't know if tax selling is going to be the thing that collapses the market 10 or 15%. I think it would be due to more of an earnings miss or inflation. But yeah, I think that could create a little bit of a dip in January. And then it becomes a question of does the market get excited to buy that dip? But I'm doing that. I know a lot of you guys are doing that. So there's definitely going to be some people selling in January, and that could cause some issues. Josh, thank you for the $10 super chat. Just bought 30K of MSTX. Let's go. Okay, so MSTX, this bad boy, 2x leverage against MicroStrategy. We saw it go to 220 back in November 21st. Right back down to 99 here, up 8%. It got to a low of 75. It's up 8% because MicroStrategy is up 4%. The premiums on this thing and the premiums on MSTU are absolutely insane. But if you're riding the volatility, then it can do very, very well. The assets under management for MSTX, to give you guys some context here of how many people are betting on a leveraged MSTR fund, 1.85 billion. It's one of the biggest ETFs in the world. And then MSTU, 2.3 billion. Pretty incredible. By the way, Apple got to 250, folks. Apple is at 250. S&P is at 607. Bitcoin, 100,600. Apple at 250. There it is. Look at that chart. It was at 225 on November 21st. Now it's at 250. $3.78 trillion market cap. $3.78 trillion market cap. Tesla's 413. All right, so we are close to 414. We are close. Let me check resistance. We are close. We are close. For those who are wondering what's going on with SoFi, it's the downgrade from yesterday. That's why it's still, is it still down right now? That's why it was down yesterday. Yeah, well, it's up today. It's up 0.5%, but that's why it's been struggling in the 15s. But I think it's holding the 15s really well, even with that downgrade, because usually on downgrades, SoFi takes a nasty hit, and 4 or 5% is not that crazy. Tesla, okay, so 414 resistance is 50,000 shares. That's not crazy. That's not crazy. I think we break it, folks. I think we break it. If we get the buyer stepping in, I think we break 414. First all-time high since November 2021, bro. That is wild. It's been a long 3 years for Tesla. Long 3 years, bro. And it was a choppy 3 years. I mean, Elon bought Twitter over these 3 years. Elon full on went and endorsed Trump in these 3 years. Like, so much has happened. And Elon lost his compensation package twice in these 3 years. And still, you have Tesla at 412. So now Tesla over the past 5 years, 1,600%. 1,600% on Tessie. So we started at $23 a share in 2019. By the way, I bought Tesla at this time, and then I sold it like a month later because it doubled, and I thought I made a lot of money. But 23 right here, December 2019, then went all the way up to 414, November 2021, came all the way down to It was more like 103 in January 2023. Then it got back up to 250, then came back down to 130 in April 2024. And now you're back at 412 on Tesla. Pretty amazing. Mahir, thanks for the super chat. SoFi is the #1 growth stock for 2025, posted by Motley Fool. Yeah, I mean, look, it makes sense. I think SoFi can have a very good 2025. I think they can. If they show even a little bit of tech platform growth, I think that'll really help their 2025. But the lending business alone should be able to help them as well. And so that's not too bad right here for SoFi. You know, one of the things about SoFi as well. So my dad yesterday was talking to me about, I'm probably gonna get the terminology wrong, but he was talking about, and we were searching it up, getting a line of credit against one of his investment properties. So my dad has this investment property. It's worth like 800 grand. And he was thinking of not selling it right now because he doesn't want to sell it because he likes the cash flow from it, but getting a line of credit from it. I don't think this is exactly a home equity line of credit, or maybe it is. Maybe it's called something different. But essentially, and I learned a lot about this last night because I was reading about it, and it connects to SoFi in a second. You can collateralize your house, and the bank could give you 90% of the value of your house in cash on an interest rate, right? In this case, it would be like 7 or 8%. And so, for example, he was thinking of taking out 100K because he has some projects he's working on, right? And that 100K, you would pay $8,000 a year on it, 8%. And the bank would like use the house as collateral for it. And I didn't fully understand that until we we talked about it for like an hour last night because he's thinking of doing some stuff and we were like going through it. And the reason it connects to SoFi is because obviously we went on Google, by the way, Google, not ChatGPT, right? And we started searching it on Google. And then I have been getting ad after ad after ad after ad on Instagram from all these companies saying, hey, you want a loan against your house? And SoFi is one of them. And I didn't apply, or my dad didn't apply to SoFi yet, but it's really interesting because if my dad's thinking about it right now, I imagine there's thousands of people in America that are thinking of, hey, maybe we don't want to sell our house, especially as rates are coming down, mortgage rates are coming down, maybe the value of our properties can continue to do well. We just can get a line of credit against it, which I guess is a home equity loan. I see. Yeah, last night I was reading an article and it said HLOC is kind of different from just like a line of credit potentially. I could be wrong, but like the point is you can collateralize your house, get a loan against it. And there's so many companies based on like the 15 ads I saw last night on Instagram and Facebook that would do this for you. Chris says, how do you understand options but not HLOC? Dude, I like, you know, options are kind of the same, right? With the collateralizing and all this stuff, but I never really thought of it because I'm not that big of a real estate guy. But my dad's been a real estate guy and he was telling me about it last night. So the point is, look, if my dad's thinking of doing that, I think other people are thinking of doing that, which means loan originations for SoFi. Because if we do that with SoFi, we're going to be paying SoFi $8,000, right? If SoFi gives us $100,000 and they give us an 8% rate. And if a lot of people start paying SoFi $8,000 and those people don't default on those loans, and by the way, if they do default, SoFi just takes your house, right? Like, so that's the good part of this from a collateral perspective. Then boom, SoFi's numbers should go up next year. A lot of these companies that are in this business, Rocket Mortgage, like these loan companies should get a tailwind from that next year. And the fact that my own dad brought it up started making me think more seriously about how much momentum there might be in this loan origination business next year as well. But I really learned about it last night. You know, I'm honestly, I did not learn about this before. Last night I went deeper into understanding this stuff. It's because he age-locked into Palantir. I think 2024 is the year I understood a lot about options. But that's it, bro. Like 2024 is the year I understood a lot about content creation and media and options. Or as I like to say, derivatives, because that sounds cooler. Derivatives and media has been what I learned about this year. And being funny, because I've been able to test out my humor in front of you guys, graciously allowing me to every single morning. But next year, we got to learn some other stuff. And real estate's probably one of those things that we got to learn a little bit more about. All right, let's get an update on CNBC, see what's going on in the markets, and then we'll keep going from there. Tesla's still at 410 right now.
Okay, this one's one everyone on Wall Street was watching. Thank you, Eamon Javers. Speaking of deals, a lot of drama here in the grocery space. Albertsons this morning calling off its merger with Kroger after a federal judge yesterday blocked the deal. Albertsons also filing suit against Kroger, saying that Kroger failed to exercise its best efforts to win regulatory approval for the deal. It is seeking billions on top of the breakup fee for what it says is basically Kroger not being serious about divesting, for instance, some of the grocery stores to satisfy the regulators. Kroger just responding to the Albertsons lawsuit, calling the claims baseless and without merit, refuting these allegations in the strongest possible terms, especially, they say, in light of Albertsons' repeated intentional material breaches and interference throughout the merger process. So this is getting pretty ugly. They continue saying they're trying to deflect responsibility and that Kroger looks forward to responding to these baseless claims, what they call baseless claims, in court. They say we went to extraordinary lengths to uphold the merger agreement throughout the entirety of the regulatory process, and the facts will make that abundantly clear. So now comes a legal fight, Kroger versus Albertsons, and not just Kroger versus the FTC, which was what the fight was all about, and that federal judge yesterday announcing that they are blocking the deal. Perhaps not such a big surprise.
No,
not
that big a surprise. We've talked about it many times at this desk. Of course, the arguments you often times articulated them on behalf of Kroger in terms of they're competing against the Costcos, the Walmarts, the Targets of the world, not against more local competition and the like. It didn't pass muster with the judge. There were many on Wall Street who believed ultimately this would happen to this deal. Rhonda McMullen, though, was steadfast in his belief that he would get it through. Now, not only has he not gotten it through, but he's in a tussle with his former merger partner.
You know, I actually thought yesterday when Kroger put out the statement on the judge's ruling that because what Kroger ultimately said was we're looking at our options. I thought maybe there was a chance that they would appeal and try to punt it to a new administration.
Yes.
Because what also Kroger said, and this is very interesting, is if we do this deal, $1 billion we will invest toward lowering grocery prices. $1 billion we will invest toward grocery workers. $1.3 billion we will invest in refurbishing Albertsons stores. You know what President-elect Trump mentioned yesterday? Anyone who invests $1 billion into America will get rid of red tape.
Boom. There may be an argument where this M&A actually goes through and where a lot of M&A goes through next year, and this type of stuff doesn't happen under the Trump administration.
And so I sort of thought that was like a signal.
You weren't alone in that, Sarah. There was some hope amongst at least some investors that also the presence of Steven Feinberg, Cerberus, a 26% holder of Albertsons, Mr. Feinberg on the board of Albertsons, and somebody who is close to President-elect Trump, potentially is going to take the number 2 position in defense as well. So that was part of a scenario in which, will they try again under a Trump administration? No, they will not try again. Albertsons having obviously, as you just said, terminated the merger agreement, now suing their former merger partner, and Kroger for its part, as you just said as well, saying, hey, it's not our fault. You guys actually
had
multiple breaches of the agreement. So that does not sound like two companies that will ever get back together.
No, but it's more legal issues for these companies, you know, that have been, this deal was announced back in October 2022. This has been going on for quite some time. Albertsons is, of course, seen as the weaker link coming out of this as an independent company, but both stocks are up, which is notable. Kroger up 1.5%. You guys spoke to Rodney McMullen last week, CEO, about what this could all mean.
I'm just thinking about, for all the talk about a wider aperture for M&A in the past few days, scuttled deals or the prospect of scuttled deals in apparel, in steel, in grocery, in staples, perhaps, although we don't know how far that one got. But it's not the kind of environment that you would think would lead to things going bust.
Well, Biden and Lena Khan are making they're giving their parting gifts, I guess, to corporate America.
Yeah, I mean, the FTC
and the judges are ruling in their favor.
Has ended with positive rulings. I mean, two big ones, obviously, that we followed here, Tapestry and now this one. Neither one of which I would argue was an unexpected outcome. I think there was
Tapestry was a little more surprising.
Well, maybe for you.
It was.
But there were.
We got a new Google video as well right here. Project Astra from Google. Let's see this.
Are we recording? Maybe. Can you tell me who is in the mirror?
It is you in the mirror taking a selfie.
My name is Rob. I live in a town called Woodbridge. I've been operating as a trusted tester for Project Astra.
Hello, I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. Oh, gosh, sorry. Kind of had a little look at some of the things in the dining room and the living room.
I do notice the plant in the corner. Is that a pothos?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't really know. Guys, is this a potos? Oh, it is. Well done. Got to do some quite fun, creative things. Can you remember who did this painting?
Yes, it was your daughter Baron who did that painting.
Really quite incredible. Can you give them all a name and then write a very brief story about what might be going on here?
Of course. Here's a whimsical story. Once upon a rainbow, in Baron's world, Whiskers the cat.
And then we went into the...
That's wild, bro. That is actually wild. So apparently Astra is their vision model, and it's interacting with the real world as you show stuff to the camera, and then the AI makes sense of it.
Kitchen as well.
I am seeing you have some mushrooms, lemons, and garlic in your kitchen.
That's wild, bro. That is so... We are in the early innings of this, dude. Like, that's what the robot's going to be as well. Like, the phone right now is kind of functioning as the robot that is, like, analyzing the lemons and the mushrooms. Imagine when there's, like, an actual humanoid robot that is fueled with all this AI that can make sense of, like, how to cut the onion, right? Hopefully the robot doesn't cry if that happens. That was a good one. But anyway, it's pretty amazing that this is happening.
Can you translate the title of the book for me?
The title translates to The Little Book of Wild Mushrooms.
It's definitely better than me reading or speaking or translating Italian of any sort. Can you suggest a sauce that I could make to go along with it?
Based on the ingredients you have, you could make a creamy, flavorful sauce with the sour cream, garlic, herbs, and onion.
And then having a little look through some of my emails, the kind of screen sharing capabilities of Astra, which are really cool. Hey, can you tell me what this email is about, please?
The email is about a talk on Australia and the RSPB Woodbridge Group's annual meeting.
Town History Day. There's a lot of history in Woodbridge, and I actually don't know that much about it. What is this building?
That is Shire Hall in Woodbridge. It is located in the town of Woodbridge in Suffolk.
The project Astra was able to identify and tell me all about our local history.
The large building shown in the video is called the Woodbridge Tide Mill.
And it was actually great to find out some more stuff about where I live. Can you tell me what these birds are here?
Eagles.
Obviously, it's not perfect at the moment.
I believe Robbie is your cat's name. Do you want to see if anything else is known about her?
No, hang on, that's my name. But it is quite mind-blowing. Now I've got something in your pocket that is like almost able to tell you anything about anything just by pointing at it. It's crazy.
Okay, we have another video on their YouTube. This is fascinating. So they have another Project Astra trial. Let's see how someone used AI for better marathon training. And again, this is, forget Google. If you're just bullish AI, these are the types of updates that I think people are looking for.
Introduction to Astra was this Sunday morning, which was my birthday. Went out for breakfast, got my banana pancakes, came back, and I started exploring the app. Day one, loading up Google's DeepMind Project Astra. I remember the first thing that we did was I pointed it at this marathon training plan for LA in 2025 that I printed out.
It looks like it's a schedule for the Los Angeles Marathon. It shows the type of workout and times planned for the month before the race.
It was able to just tell me about the plan, synthesizing information right before my own eyes. This morning, I am doing the spider route. I am going to bring some gels.
Since you plan to run 10 miles, you might need about 3 to 4 blocks cubes during your run.
What I've been trying to do throughout the course of this week is use an app like an assistant. I have this like delightful voice, being all cheery and supportive.
The week is busy, but you're on your way now. How can I make your drive better, Josh? Do you need anything from me, like music suggestions?
One of the things I find pretty fascinating about Astra is that it can remember what we talked about before.
Wait. Do you remember what we made with celery last time?
Yes, we added a bit of ginger to it last time, didn't we?
How much?
Wow, so there's some memory. It actually remembers historical patterns in terms of the things you've asked the AI itself.
Ginger do you think we should use from this?
For 8 cups of juice, a 1-inch piece of that ginger should do the trick.
I don't have a ruler on me. Do you think this is about 1 inch?
Yes, that looks like about 1 inch to me.
Hey, how we go?
So I just had a heavy workout. Can you recommend what I should eat now?
Yes, because you just worked out, the shrimp and grits with tasso ham would be a good choice.
So this technology is rapidly evolving. The value of being a trusted tester is shaping the product for what it can be.
Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
We're going to start over. That's one of the bugs. But being able to just translate the world around me to call from what it saw within the video. What is that furry thing?
That is a wind muff, also called a dead cat. It reduces wind noise when recording audio outdoors.
Dude, that picture's not even that clear, right? Like that picture, it's not that easy to see that that's like a wind muff for a microphone. It's pretty incredible.
I would rank it as one of the most exciting pieces of technology I've experienced.
AI, baby. AI is going nowhere. And I'm sure the other companies are working on stuff like this along with Google. But regardless of, if you're long Google or not, that stuff's going to get better and better and better and better and better. And whoever can make actual money off of it, not just train more models into perpetuity to say they have the best model, but whoever can actually monetize it, I think the market's going to pile into them. And I think the market doesn't know who's it going to be yet. Is it Microsoft, Google, Amazon? No one really gets it yet. Maybe it's Meta. Maybe it's Apple somehow partnering with all of them. But it does look like that progress is coming. Tesla 413. We have not hit 414 yet. It's trying. It's trying to get there. Bitcoin 100,798. Palantir goes green, folks. Palantir $70.94. Robin at 38.31. That's up 2.54%. S&P 500 606.93. Q's at 528. SoFi up 1.7%. So SoFi going green. AMD still down. Tesla 413. MSTR up 6%. Marathon up 6%. Coinbase up 6%. ARK Innovation up 1.3%. IWM at 236. Whereas Riot on the day is up 9%. Bitcoin miner not bad. And Apple, take a look at Apple. It's about to go to 251. It's about to go to 251 on Apple. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Did I say AI is going nowhere? You guys know what I mean, though. Like it's not like it's so integrated into our lives. It's not going anywhere, but obviously it's going forward into the future. The cruise lines, are they moving? CCL, yeah, cruises up 2.32%. You got cruises moving. Norwegian up 2.86%. RCL up 0.5% or up 1% on the day as well. MSTX up 10% and Bitcoin right here at 100,677 currently right now. All right. I think that's it for today, folks. I think that's it. I really want to stay to see Tesla hit all-time highs, but it is being a little stubborn right here. We're trying to get there. 413. We're trying to get there. Damn, Tesla was 348 on December 4th, bro. Tesla was 348 7 days ago. It's now 413. That's wild. Absolutely freaking wild. New all-time high on Bitcoin and Tesla on the same day. That would be incredible. That would be super dope. All right, let's do word of the day. We'll stay like another 5 minutes. Hopefully we can get Tesla to get to that 414. If not, hopefully later in the day. Oh, wow. I just said AI is going nowhere. I could have used this word. Nowhitter, which means nowhere.
No whither.
No whither. No whither. To no place, nowhere. The abandoned road led no whither, disappearing into a dense forest. The river seemed to spring from an unknown spot and flow no whither. Okay, well, that is a synonym for nowhere. AI to no whither. Amit gets a no with her. Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny. My boy asked me what happened. I told him I'm just not with her anymore. That's funny. This is a funny one. This is a funny one. Oh, are we there? Are we almost there on Tessie? Oh, we're so close, guys. We got to stay. We're so close. We're so close to 414. We got to get there. All right, so we'll stay until 414. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But market close today. We have Broadcom earnings. That's going to be important. And then, Thursday we will have market open, market close. Friday we won't have the market close. I'll be in DC on Friday, but we'll still have market open on Friday in DC. I'll have a couple guests. Garcia, friend of the channel, he'll be on the show on market open on Friday, doing the Palantir Army Navy game. So staying with some people there, and so yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. And then we get into the last 2 weeks of December. Last 2 weeks for December. Dude, 420 on Tesla is also going to be crazy. The amount of screenshots when we see 420.69, that'll be amazing. DC is where their Army Navy game is. I'm not joining Doge. I'm actually going to see Palantir's offices in DC, though, so that'll be fun. I've never seen the DC offices. Iliano is there. I'm going to meet up with Iliano again. Oh, I think we're getting there. So that'll be fun this weekend in DC. Oh my gosh, we're like 3 cents away. We are 3 cents away. The bell is locked and loaded, folks. The bell is locked and loaded. We are ready for 414. I didn't see it on mine. I don't think it's there yet. I didn't see it. Some of you guys maybe saw it, but it's not there yet. 414. Can we get there? Dude, these market makers, bro. They know how much. They know the bell's locked and loaded, bro. They know that. Dude, Elon's going to be worth more than his share price. Elon's worth $442 billion. Tesla's at 414. That'd be wild. Bro, your screen literally says what the daily high is. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't say 414 yet. It says 413.98. But I know some brokerages are different. They show like different versions of it. But I only see 413.98. 2 cents away. 2 cents away. Let's see. All-time high is 414.50. Okay, but we're still going to celebrate 414. I don't care. I don't know if we get to those extra 50 cents. So we're still going to celebrate 414. It's not there yet. Not on Webull. Some of you guys might have seen it. I have not seen it. It's not there. It is not there yet. Not there. Tesla shorts are definitely not liking this, though. Again, the short float is not that much, too. It's like, I think, less than 3%. But there still are those shorts. Oh, my gosh. It was so close. It was so close. But it was there. 413.15. Order book. Yeah, let me check the order book. Let me check the order book on Tessie. Palantir now red, 7060. Bitcoin, 100,700. MicroStrategy 401. Robinhood 3825. 414 has 35,000. This is not even a lot of shares, bro. 35,000 shares. This is just a waiting game. This is not going to be hard to break through. It's a waiting game here, but there's a shot. Trump is going to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell on Thursday. Really? That's cool. All right. Well, tomorrow we're going to see Trump ring the bell. Did Biden ever ring the bell? I'm sure presidents in the past have rang the bell. There's no way that hasn't happened. Let's ask Grok. Let's see. I'm sure there's been presidents that have rang the bell before. Name me presidents that have rang the NYSE bell before. There's no way Trump's the first one to do it. But that'd be really cool if we get it. Tesla, not getting there. Okay, so Ronald Reagan was the first one to do it in 1985. Obama did it, but not as a president. Joe Biden did do it. Trump did it before. Jimmy Carter's done it. Gerald Ford, Woodrow Wilson. All right, so people have done it before. I don't know if Biden did it in the last 4 years, but we might see that tomorrow with Trump. JC, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it. Mid, thanks for everything. JC, thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here every single morning. It's been awesome. We're ending up the year strong. It's been a very, very strong, exciting year, and we got to keep that momentum going into 2025. But it's been a cool 2024, dude. Now we just gotta keep it going. Gotta keep working. Gotta keep building. I got some hopefully strong plans for 2025 that I've been working on, and I think it'll be fun. I think it'll make the show better. I think it'll be a lot of cool stuff coming out next year. So thank you everybody for being here. Someone gave you $500. Yeah, dude. And Fool's Gold, I don't know if you're still here, but he was like, I wanted to send you more, but YouTube wouldn't let me send more than 500. Like, you guys are wild, bro. You guys are absolutely wild. Like, I very deeply appreciate it. That's a lot of money. You do not have to send that much money. That's a lot, but I deeply, deeply appreciate it. So thank you for that. And you guys are helping Google stock because Google takes their little cut from that super chat. Where's Derek when we need him? Oh, that's true. Well, Derek's been heads down focused on his startup. He's been finalizing his final pre-seed round of funding, and so he's been kind of locked away. But he's been very bullish Tesla. From my conversations with him, he is like getting more and more and more and more. But he's been bullish Tesla since like 2010. He's been an investor for a long time, but now it's getting to the point where he's really starting to see the trajectory of growth. But he has a startup he's working on, and it's going to be a pretty exciting startup as well. I think we'll do an interview eventually. I mean, you guys have heard about it. It's kind of like B2B SaaS for e-commerce. It's not a really exciting startup. It's not a sexy startup, but it's like a really big TAM. And he's got some like amazing investors that just want to pile money into it. He's got a really nice team, awesome CTO. And so next year he's going to be building that thing. And really over the next couple of years, he's going to be building it. Do you have a Discord or private group? I do not, guys. I don't think I'm ever going to have a Discord. I really hate having a Discord or private group. It's just too many messages and too many people talking back and forth. Like it's too much, bro. Like it's just, my phone has like, I've had to learn how to manage having so many notifications. There's like probably 50 DMs I haven't responded to that I need to get. Like there's just so many messages and notifications, and I just can't do it. The only way you could have a private Discord and justify it is by charging people like $5 against it. And I'm never doing that. So as cool as the community would be, I think on Twitter we have that community, this chat, we have this community. It would be cool to, I guess, have a Discord where people are talking, but it's just too much, bro. Like at some level with everything I'm doing in the day, I just can't have a billion messages. And then I feel bad if I don't look at it or if I don't respond to it, right? Because people joined your Discord for a reason. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it for me. The only way it's worth it is if you charge people. And I don't want to charge people because I just think that's stupid. So yeah, not likely, never going to be doing that. Bitcoin 101. Bitcoin 101. There we go. Bitcoin 101. Yeah, I used to have one like 2 years ago, and then I deleted it because it was just too much. But I think we grew it to like 400 people. I think we would get more than 400 people this time, but it's too much, bro. It's a big ass group chat, and then you got people that might say some wild shit, and I don't want to censor anybody, but you got people saying crazy stuff, and you need moderators, and it's like too much, bro. It's like way too much to manage. And like the only way you can manage it is if it's like your job and you're getting paid for it. And like, I don't want to get paid to manage a Discord. Like really throughout the day, I'm too busy making content, bro. I'm too busy on X. I'm too busy making YouTube videos, too busy streaming. So like even the time to dedicate on a Discord is just like, it's just not worth it. At least not for me. Tesla 413, we are not getting to 414 right now, bro. June says you need to take the Grindr app on your phone. Where's Grindr, bro? Where is this bad boy? 1580. Dude, I think next year we're going to 20 on Grindr, and it's gonna be so fun when we get to 20. It's gonna be so fun. But I think we're getting there, bro. I don't see their growth slowing. Dude, do you guys know they're number 38 in the App Store in social networking? Number 38. Like their user growth is phenomenal. And it's a user growth in a, speaking of people that have money, it's gay men that have a lot of money. They're the highest growing income in the United States, gay men. They can pay $20 a month for Grindr. So I think it's going to be good, 2025. I think it's going to be good. Oh, yeah, Robinhood metrics today. Well, we already know them. So I think the street might react to them, but we already know them, right? They're coming out after the bell. We already know them, though. I don't think we're going to get anything that different from what we found out. We'll get like one or two different metrics, but most of the street that maybe didn't pay attention last week when they released them early, that'll be important today. And that could be a catalyst for the street as well. Did you tell your dad about this investment? No, I told my mom, though. I told my mom. I was like, I invested in Grindr. She's like, what is that? I was like, gay dating app. And I don't think she understood at first. She was like, what did she say? She was like, oh, she thought it was a gay investing app. She thought it was like an app only for gay people to invest. And she's like, what? Why would there only be gay people? I was like, no, it's a gay dating app, Mom. And she's like, oh, I get it. So she didn't understand it on the first time. But dude, we're up a good, how much are we up on this thing? We got 1,500 shares at freaking 1414. We're up like 8% on this thing. What are we up on? No, we're up 12%. We're up 25 hundo on Grindr. Grindr is the definition of just like wanting to be in the story, because at $14, I still felt it was expensive, but I was like, screw it, dude. I think there's a story here. And now we're here. Now, granted, again, volume's really low, so this thing's not going to move like crazy. There's not that many people that trade it, but you do have some of the fundamentals in the right direction. All right, Tesla's messing with us. 413. We aren't getting to 414. I think they're trying to hold it under. There's not a lot of shares waiting there, but we are trying to get there. We are trying to get to 414. Broadcom's up. Yeah, Broadcom's up with the Apple news. But we are trying to get to 414. I do think the end of the year stock market awards is going to be a good show. I think it'll be fun. I think I'm going to get Steve, Matt, and Chris on it. And even Doug. Doug, you were on the president stream. If you want to join that one, feel free to join. And I think we'll have like 10 or 15 awards, and then we'll go through our logic for all of them. I think it'll be a fun one. 413.70, 30 cents away. Bumble is horrible, dude. Bumble is stupid. Bumble, the founder left. Oh my God, 8 cents away. Oh my God. Dude, it's toying with us so much. 10 cents away. Bumble doesn't really have a monopoly in a certain niche. And so that's why I like Grindr over Bumble. 413.72. Bitcoin, wow, 101.2. Not bad. 101.2 on Bitcoin. That's not bad. 413.40, dude. We got to 413.90 like 2 seconds ago. Could not get over that. SoFi 1562. SoFi's up 2%. Hood 3824. S&P 607. Q's 528. Bitcoin 101. Tesla just 60 cents away. 60 cents away. Amit, my girlfriend hated how much I listen to you, but now that I pay for everything, she watches happily with me. That's cool. That is super cool. That is super cool. Well, you know, hopefully if you learn about the markets and the stream kind of helps you and you make money and you can buy your girlfriend whatever she needs, then she's happy. I've been saying that. A lot of people have said it. I'm like, dude, your girlfriend doesn't make you money. The stream hopefully makes you money, and then you can spend it on your girlfriend. So that's where the trade-off makes sense. Amit, what stream had your dividend income generating group discussion? Let me link it right now in the chat. It was the Black Friday stream. I'll link that in the chat right now for you. That was on. Okay, I do a lot of live streams. I gotta find this thing. Where is this thing? Damn, dude, do I stream this much, bro? Holy crap, where is this freaking stream? What was I even wearing on the day? Oh, is this it? Is this it? Okay, I'm gonna need a minute. As we wait for this thing. Oh, Tesla, we're 10 cents away. Oh my gosh. 10 cents away. We didn't hit it yet, folks. We didn't hit it yet. Up 3%. Oh my God, dude. It got rejected again at 413.90. Goodness freaking gracious. 413.40. Okay, where's the stream, bro? Now I want to find it. What did I title this shit, bro? All I see is Carp and Tom Lee on these thumbnails. Like, I don't even know what stream this is. What day was that? That was November 21st, right? It's because I stream twice a day, bro. That's the thing. That's why it just like multiplies. 413.32. When you started looking at it goes back down. All right, I'm going to look for the stream, and hopefully it goes back to 414. Dude, what day was that? That was Black Friday. Black Friday was on November 29th. Okay, that's only 2 weeks ago. It was after Palantir Weekly, blah, 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 market close. Dude, this is hard, bro. Are we back there? There's no November 31st? Okay, yeah, I'm wrong about that. Dude, I linked it to someone yesterday, so I feel like I should know where it is. I was easily able to link it yesterday. It was after NVIDIA. This is actually really difficult. I don't know what it is. The wall at 414 is 35,000 shares. 35,000 shares. I'm going to type in a mid Black Friday. Oh, no, a mid dividend special. Maybe that'll pop up on YouTube. A mid dividend. Oh, I found it. I got it. Okay, cool. I should have just searched it from the beginning. All right, here we go. Here's the link. There it is in the chat. 413, bro. Come on. Check February 30th. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it's not getting there. It's not getting there. I don't know, guys. Maybe we got to end the stream. Maybe we got to end the stream and then eventually it gets there. And then we'll celebrate on the market close if it gets there. Walgreens is not bought already. That was a rumor yesterday. Not bought already. That was a rumor. But if they do get bought, that would be good for Walgreens. All right, folks. I think we ended out. We're not getting there yet. Maybe we get there after, and we will kind of see what ends up happening here. All right, I think that's it. Tesla holding a mid hostage. Yeah, exactly. Never leave. Oh boy. Palantir S&P 500 inclusion seems like that was just yesterday. That was a wild stream. Well, Friday. We're going to find out about Qs. I think that happens after hours, so that's going to be important. But yeah, it does feel like it was just yesterday, right? It does feel like it was just yesterday. Don't quit. You guys are acting like I have control over this, bro. This is literally just waiting. There's nothing I can do here other than stare at this thing and catch it. Bitcoin 101, Hood 3829, Palantir 70, Microsoft 449, Apple 250, SoFi 59 or 1559. Cruises are up, Riot's up 8%, Tesla 412 on the day. Nvidia as well 137, Tesla 412.70. All right, that's it, folks. I'll be back on the market close. We got a Robinhood metrics, we got Broadcom earnings. Those are going to be a big earnings, and we also have Robinhood metrics. And so we'll have a ton of stuff on the market close today to see what we got going on. All right. That is it, folks. Hopefully we get 414 and we'll know on the market close if we end up getting it. All right. That's it. Thank everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Appreciate all the super chats today. Again, Fool's Gold, $500 super chat. Really appreciate it. That is a lot of money. Deeply appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here every single morning, every single day. 3 weeks left of this year, and we're back into 2025. I'll be back on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. See you guys then.